Sabres Bruins heads to Boston, now tied at 1 apiece following the Sabres' loss last night. There was no practice today, but for Buffalo, head coach Lindy Ruff did speak with the media, and while there is no official lineup changes, Ruff did say Noah Ostlund is a possibility for tomorrow's lineup. Paul Hamilton and Owen Parker have more on this up at our website, WGR550.com. And speaking of the Sabres and the playoffs, join Brian Koziel and Owen Parker live this Sunday from 11 to 2 p.m. at Hamburg Tap Room for pregame coverage of Game 4 and more. It's presented by Neutral Vodka Seltzer. Keep it tasty this playoff season. 3 games tonight. At 7 o'clock, the Flyers host Pittsburgh. Philly is looking to take a 3-0 series lead there. 9:30, Dallas is in Minnesota versus the Wild. That series is tied at 1 apiece. And then Game 2 at 10 between the Oilers and the Ducks in Edmonton. The Oilers did take Game 1 in that series. Cowboys Executive Vice President Stephen Jones did confirm today with the media that wide receiver George Pickens is set to play on the franchise tag this year and that there won't be talks for a long-term deal. Pickens, though, does still need to sign the franchise tag. And tomorrow is draft day, round 1. Going to get underway in Pittsburgh at 8 p.m. tomorrow night. Our coverage, though, will begin an hour early at 7 p.m. And with Game 3 being at the same time tomorrow, Nate Gary, Derek Kramer, and myself will be covering the draft over on 9:30 WBEN. We'll be back on GR for rounds 2 through 7 Friday and Saturday. Bison's home against Columbus. First pitch is at 6:05. You can listen to that on our sister station, the Bet 1520. Jays are at the Angels. That game will get started here in the next few minutes. The Yankees are in Boston versus the Red Sox at 6:45. And the Mets are now trying to end a 12-game losing streak as they host Minnesota at 7:10. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for West New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Uh-oh. Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody?
Monday, Tuesday, hump day is halfway. It's Mike Schopp.
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
And the Bulldog.
Hey, guess what day it is? Oh, come on, I know you can hear me.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Guess what today is?
It's hump day.
Woo-hoo!
On WGR.
Hump day!
Sports Radio 550.
This is not to say how sage we are, but just maybe how old we are. Making sure you out there were prepared as best possible for the emotional swings of the playoffs. Sunday night, greatest night of our lives. Monday afternoon, wasn't that the greatest night of our lives? Yesterday, 80-20, wasn't Sunday the greatest night of our lives? 80-20, okay, well, what has to be different or better tonight? Today, Who remembers Sunday? Where were you in 2026 for Game 1?
Montana, in my case.
You were in Montana.
That doesn't really help the conversation much at all.
Well, what is the conversation?
The conversation is that, I think you should know this is how it is. Boston, as desirable as an opponent as I felt they were, and I still do. I've seen 2 games, and I still think that the Sabres should be the better team. They certainly were for most of the game on Sunday, than just were only trailing on the scoreboard. I think what's happening now that I'm getting the sense from just dipping in and out today and monitoring my social channels.
Oh, I hate that.
Yeah, sorry.
Don't ever say that.
I was saying it to be annoying.
What is the thing that I say that you hate? Talking ball.
Yeah.
One time I said we're going to talk ball, and you were like, "Oh my God, please never say that again."
Right.
And I didn't. I haven't.
Yeah. Right. Where the hell was I? That it's going to be hard. Sorry. These teams are not, as favorable as I thought Boston was. It's not like it was we're going to skate circles around them, as opposed to say Ottawa or anyone else in the pool. So it's going to be hard. But what I'm sensing today, dipping in and out, again, I got sidetracked here, but I'm back to the thing about the socials, is that, they've really only had a good 5 minutes Sunday night, and the Bruins are killing them in this series or something, which I don't think is reality at all. They were ahead. They've been ahead for most of the games, most of the series
so far.
All but that tail end of Game
minutes.
1, but the scoreboard didn't tell the story of Game 1 accurately. I think the Sabres were the better team and the more dangerous team most of the night. They just were losing. And they rectified that and earned a win, I thought. Last night, Boston mostly controlled the game. I think the Sabres, to me, looked like they were ready to go home after that first power play they had. They just didn't generate anything. And from there, I felt like Boston just kind of took the game over.
Thompson had a look. Remember this?
Yeah,
at 12 seconds.
13 seconds in or
13
something.
How dare you?
I'm guessing.
Too soon.
All right.
Let's say 12.
Okay, 12. You're
or
right.
14.
You're right.
But come on, sit down, watch the game, pour a beer. Here we go. And he is in alone from the circle on the right of the goalie right away. Not that he had to score there, but wow. I mean, I wasn't worried after that.
No,
exactly,
me either. But I eventually got worried. I just thought there's a lot of old hockeyisms. But I felt like last night, one that I would pay some respect is that your power play actually sucked the life out of the game for you. I thought the Sabres were buzzing to start the game, and then that power play just was such a thud.
Minute and a half.
Yeah,
maybe.
and there's did they give up a shorthanded breakaway during it? I don't even right.
So.
That happens often enough that I can't be sure that it definitely happened in that circumstance. But anyway, I just thought it sort of just and that not like Boston started killing them, but I just thought it was Boston's game.
I wasn't there until the first goal. I hated the first goal. The second goal made you perhaps just sort of forget about the first goal.
Felt sick.
But the first goal was, oh no, now I'm in trouble. Now I'm back to Sunday where I'm halfway through the game and losing, and need to pull it out. And then I started to think, if it's not, this is funny. The 82 games, right, and 60 of them were amazing. By the start of the third period, I went, if it's not going to be Thompson, who's it going to be? Because Thompson, almost by himself, pulled them out of Sunday's hole. And all right, well, who's going to do that for me here? Where is anybody coming close? Kind of.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I don't have the benefit of waiting, right? Getting the power play. You're as a fan, you're not hoping, if I just get a power play goal here, I'm going to get a chance. I'm down, as it turns out, going into the third period. It was 4-0, 14 seconds into the period. So you were really in it. But even at 1-0, 2-0, before the end of the second period, and then eventually 3, it's I don't have that to stand on. And so where am I going to get my offense?
Plus, Boston gets a power play goal that looked really easy.
Yeah,
for 3.
They just did not. They just didn't generate a lot of dangerous outside of the first 8 minutes. I thought the first bit of the game they looked great, and then I just thought it was Boston's night. So, it's a lot of words to just say it's hard. It's going to be hard. So now they're gonna go win a game in Boston, which shouldn't be impossible.
It's going to be hard is not a story. It's going to be fine was, more of a story, and that's not a given that they're going to be all right. If they don't get the power play right, it'll be really tough because that's what the playoffs are so much about. And I'm not optimistic, really, for that. I thought they could beat this team because, even going back to last year, 5-on-5, the Sabres have been so good.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't worried about inexperience, and I still am not. I don't think that's going to be the thing. I don't think it was the thing last night. Coming off Sunday, why would you worry about that at all, like last night? But I guess this is new adversity. It's a loss. But I'm not expecting necessarily the power play to get good because really most of the year was annoying. It ranged from annoying to bad. We talked once the Sabres got pretty in the middle of the season, okay, let's really look at this. And in the beginning months of that, the story, I think, for me, listening to it about the power play was, I mean, like, Paul, what's wrong with the power play? And he would say, well, they do score pretty much every game.
Yeah, they're what I feel like we spent a lot of time on was, what's wrong with the power play? They've scored in 6 straight games.
And I'm like, okay, well, I guess you win.
Right.
But it wasn't like it ever really looked great.
Right.
And then by the end of the season, and now, of course, it became, well, it's really not good at all. And they're not scoring every game, not scoring at all.
Well, it's very hard for me to imagine. I think them winning this series without getting especially in these games in Boston. They're not going to have, for whatever it's worth, maybe it'll turn into a nothing burger. I don't know. But Boston has the choice of the matchups now. And I can't really tell yet who prefers to be with whom, and then, what Lindy was trying to do at home here and what Sturm may try to do when he gets the last change. But that's another little piece you're losing now in these 2 games. And I just think it's going to be hard to win a road game in the playoffs without the power play, especially considering how stifled they look at 5-on-5 largely.
Well, you could get saves into it.
Yeah, that's right. And speaking of saves, I mean, I am generally, it's a hard habit to break, sort of being a goalie apologist. When your kid is a goalie, and he's climbing the ranks and playing at a pretty high level, you end up sort of understanding the goals a little bit more, I guess, right? When the mistakes that a goalie makes. I got to put Lyon in tomorrow.
Do you?
I think I do. Yes. I just don't. I pushed back on you when you said Luukkonen was jittery in game 1 and mentioned the breakaway saves, and you have that again last night. I mean, he made big saves before he got scored on. But those 2 goals were almost – nothing can be as bad as a 100-footer.
Try odious.
Okay?
Try a new word.
That is it was a stanky thing to have happen, but it's really just a lucky bounce for them and a bad break for you. It's not, to me – it's not indicative of, you're my problem. The first goal is worse than that, I think.
I mean, we spent a couple of days talking about Jeremy Swayman's left pad on Thompson's second. And, I mean, you watched the slow-mo on the first goal last night. Why is he coming up? It wasn't the same conversation, but it was almost like, all right, well, on Sunday, I'm really baffled by why is he coming up. Last night, I guess I am too, but it's just that was a technical gaffe.
And when we talked about this yesterday after I missed Monday, the supercomputer that is the goalie brain, right? It's like the Terminator, the data is just coming. It's like threat level, whatever, right? That's the job. You're not just watching the puck and trying to stop the puck. You're analyzing the entire situation. So, right, this guy's coming in on him. Samuelson's on his back. He doesn't exactly have going across the crease sealed off, Samuelson, but I feel like he might have even taken a penalty if Arvidsson had tried to go across Luukkonen. He's got one hand on his stick on the backhand, and the puck is on edge. So, on one hand, I think, well, Luukkonen probably isn't expecting shot here because one hand's on the stick, and to Arvidsson's credit, I think smartly what he does is simultaneously, or at least almost simultaneously, I did watch this frame by frame, as he puts the other hand on the stick, he shoots it right away. It's like one motion. There's no attempt to, and I just think the shot probably surprised him, Luukkonen, because the puck is on edge. He's not going to just whack it at the net here. And so he wasn't ready to go down and take away the 5-hole. He got caught in between. Once he realized the shot was coming, he went down and it got underneath him, and that's how that happens. I just think he just kind of blew it. Because the guy was not going to be able to do much with the puck. The fact that it's on edge cuts both ways. How willing to stick handle and try to make a move across the crease is the guy if the puck's on edge. Maybe you should have just been playing for, take this away. This is all he's got. And he didn't. And I think that was as big a mistake as missing the pop fly from center ice. And I just think the fact that he went back out there to start the third and got scored on right away,
And then Lyon was not scored on.
As much and he didn't have to do a lot, but still.
But there isn't a goal to talk about.
No, my gut tells me he'll make the switch, and I want to say I support it. I would give Luukkonen the hook here. And it doesn't have to be permanent, but I just think the team could be pretty shook up about both of those goals. And that's tough. You don't want to have that swing thought as a player at all. It's part of the reason why I think you like to get one guy. One guy's going, well, this is our guy. We're going to ride him. And okay, great. And the guy makes saves, and you trust him, and you feel good. And then that happens. And I just think the whole thing gets pretty shaky. So
there are so many ways to look at it.
I would support putting Lyon in for Game 3.
I am not going to fight you on that. I don't have a position that's like completely entrenched on this because I think like a lot of things, even though our business is talking about it and often we're just guessing at some of the internal stuff, or almost always. But it starts with, I think, the personalities. It starts with Luukkonen's personality, like how it's happened to him, often, not all the time, but through his career. I mean, this happens to goalies and coaches, pull you, and you got to figure out what to do from there. But he had become, the way it has played out in the last month, where Lyon had a couple of off nights and then eventually an injury, and now Luukkonen is playing them all, almost. Ellis here and there too, but really only because of the schedule. Otherwise, Luukkonen would have played them all.
And once they were sewn up too. I mean, once they had
they
at
the end
solidified.
He doesn't play the game against Dallas.
Right.
But it went 100% well. I mean, even that Tampa game's a while ago now, but the 8-7 game is even a win. That's before Lyon falters, if that's the right way to put it, and then his injury. So Luukkonen became a no-brainer for the playoffs. Like, there was no conversation about any other option. Lyon being hurt, but still, like, Lyon wasn't so clearly above. I mean, he never really was clearly above Luukkonen. He was great. He won all the time, but it was really at the most, it was kind of a split.
They were both excellent. Lyon was better statistically, goals saved above expected, that kind of thing. But Luukkonen was not far behind. Like, Lyon might have been third, and Luukkonen was seventh or something.
In the league.
In the whole league, most of the year. I don't know what it ended up at, but they were both on the screen. If you saw like a top 10 in that sort of stat, they were both there.
So I guess, like, talking about personalities and around that, I mean, what did Ruff think, or what was the conversation as they got to the playoffs? Like, okay, Lyon isn't even healthy yet. We need you. Like, you did it. You first place.
Yeah.
And now I'm midway through Game 2. I mean, I know it's short. And am I going to bail on that? And I don't think I would want to. But it's that line that you remember me telling you about from Lindy when we were at a bar together a long time ago. Like, coaches have to do something.
You got to do something, right?
And he might think he has to do that. So I don't know. I mean, he might think it's the wrong move. I think taking him out at 4-0 was perfectly normal for hockey. Even leaving him in, and then, okay, well, 4-0.
Right.
I mean, I've got Thompson in kind of a brawl.
I think maybe if that goal happens, halfway through the third period, he doesn't get pulled. But it's 16 seconds. He just came out. You probably thought long and hard about pulling him out, as much time as you could spend thinking about it, because you'd want to get Lyon time to get ready and whatever. But whenever you decide to leave him in, you had already thought about taking him out, surely. And then the period is barely started, and it's another goal. Like, okay, that's it. You're out. That does not have to mean he's done, and I might be overreacting. I don't know, but Lindy last night certainly, that's Lindy. That's gamesmanship. It's the playoffs. He might think there's the slightest advantage to playing games with Boston. Today, again, he mentioned a couple of times how well the rotation worked all year and that kind of thing. So he's planting seeds. That, again, might be tactical on his part. It doesn't have to mean he's going to make a change, but he certainly is not being shy about giving the impression that he's thinking about it.
Yeah, and I think, and you're not saying different just yet, I think the idea that you're sort of in Boston's head by not announcing is ridiculous. because I don't think that would mean anything. But because, the Sabres, as long as it's been since they've been in the playoffs, when was the last time we had a conversation in Sabres history about who the goalie would be? The 80s? I mean, Hasek had his drama the one year, and it was Shields, but otherwise, or even the Rolison thing, but just like it was Ryan Miller. It was Dominic Hasek. It may be the 80s when it was more of a time where you went back and forth, and it's so long ago it's irrelevant. We have not had this. The Sabres have played against teams like Philadelphia the last time they were in the playoffs where, you had a conversation about goaltending. It's really not an important point. I think taking him out when he did is completely a reasonable move. Leaving him in is defensible going into the third. At 4-0, I'm thinking if I'm the coach of the team, I'm thinking, are people wondering if I'm here if I don't make this move? Like, am I alive for this? So you do that. And I would take Lindy's words on this today or last night to mean, like, I don't know yet. And maybe he doesn't. It's okay.
Yeah, I'm not telling you I'm sure he's made a decision, but I'm sure he's thinking about it. He certainly wants to give everyone the impression he's thinking about it. I don't think it's valueless. I mean, are the Bruins going to lose sleep over it? No. But listen, you have meetings with your shooters and your power play guys and everything about the goalie's tendencies and where you want to shoot on a guy, and they came in prepared to play Luukkonen. If you can waste an hour of their lives between now and 7 o'clock tomorrow, go for it. Because they maybe will, Lyon's a different goalie. He's got different strengths and weaknesses, and, sure, it's try to get the puck past him in traffic and all the usual stuff, but in alone on a guy, what does he give away? Where can I exploit him? That kind of stuff. The Bruins will spend time on that, I think, because of this uncertainty. So that doesn't have zero value, but it's, to me, it's worth a coach. If you think it's embarrassing to do it, so be it. I think it's worth floating it out there and leaving it uncertain. So,
I would think there'd also be a psychological benefit to a team when you turned the script around so dramatically that at one game after that incredible comeback and everything that was said about it on Sunday, you're we've pulled their goalie now?
Yeah, we made them change.
I don't know. I mean, I think there's so many different angles to that. And whether Pavel Zacha loses an hour of his life trying to figure this out, I'm going to lose 2 days of mine because I don't think there's really an easy answer to this. You've got a goalie that helped you get to the Atlantic Division title incredibly, and then he had a couple of misses, and all right, are we done? And I don't think, if I need to say it, Lyon is fine. Like, he's not somebody. It would be different if Ellis.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not putting Ellis in Game 3.
No.
In Boston. It's Luukkonen or die.
Mm-hmm.
For me. Lyon, okay. I'm not against it. But I think you just sort of choose, not to say you, but I think for myself or anybody else, you sort of choose, like, all right, what matters the most to you? And it matters a lot to me that they got here with Luukkonen, and they have 2 days off after tomorrow.
Yeah.
But tomorrow's not quite a must-win, literally, but it's important as all these games are. It can't be wrong.
What it will do, here's one of the reasons I get, and look, you can you can twist yourself up in any kind of knot you want. Trying to figure out why to do this, the timing, this game, that game. I think if you go to Lyon here and you win, then maybe you keep going with him, but you've got the 2 days off, and you've got the lead back in the series. If you stay with Luukkonen and it goes badly, now you have to go to Lyon for Game 4, and you're down 2-1. And, like, now it's you're facing the specter of coming home down 3-1, and now you've made the goalie switch. I think at least if you try Lyon tomorrow night and it doesn't go well, I pivot back to Luukkonen for Game 4. The pressure is still the same. But at least I'm not saving Lyon until everyone's feeling like, oh, God, we can't go down 3-1. We can't go down 3-1. I think it's a looser re-entry point. Because to me, I'm not done with Luukkonen. The idea is to stabilize him if he needs it and make sure this series doesn't get away from me before I do something to affect it.
Yet another angle. 803-0550 for your calls. The NFL Draft, round 1 is tomorrow. So, Sigman Bloom today, he publishes a great column every year, the Bloom 100, the pre-draft Bloom 100, and we'll talk about certain of the receiver prospects with Sigman, running backs, and different ways the draft can fall. Also, our final chat for a while with Chris Trapaso. Maybe we'll talk to Chris next week.
I think after the draft we will wrap it up with him. But, yeah, we're getting down to the end here.
I mean, it's tomorrow night. So we'll talk to Chris at 5, Paul Hamilton from Boston at 6. We'll look for your calls next. 803-0550, Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
We've been living in sin so long, all the feels are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. You seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over. It's about time. Oh, all sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to
Here's Daw looking in front. Can't get it to Presley. Gets it again. Daw charging after it. Clear right out in front. Backhand by Hannon. He scores! Dave Hannon! Dave Hannon is mobbed by his teammates. Dave Hannon finally put away the backhand. And this series is going back to where Jimmy Hoffa is. Back to the Meadowlands in New Jersey.
1994, all-time great, famous Sabres playoff goal, Dave Hannon against the Devils in Game 6 of a 7-game series loss.
Quadruple overtime.
Was there any talk? Listen, guys, hey, big fan, Bulldog, I met you at a bagel store. I don't know if you remember, but just real quick, are we any talk of fear here for Game 7? I mean, it's quick turnaround on road trip.
70
he's
saves.
Won. I mean, he's got rings.
70 saves.
70 saves. I mean,
a lot of work.
He's a championship pedigree. I'll hang up. I just want to say I'm a big fan. We did not do that in 1994.
I don't remember. I wasn't on the radio in 1994.
You might have listened.
I surely did. I don't remember though.
Okay.
Yeah.
It would have been weird.
Yeah.
70 saves on 70 shots, about as good as you could ever do, as anyone has ever done. I don't think we were talking about taking them out.
Probably not. There wasn't a lot of load management talk then.
No.
For anyone, really, in any sport. I don't think load management is not a phrasing I had heard until, 10 years ago. Maybe longer, 15.
They lose Game 7 2-1, by the way. Wasn't like, they could have regretted the move, or the non-move. Sabres were outshot in Game 7, 46-18. By the Devils.
The Devils. A boring defensive team, the Devils.
They had 46 shots.
In a regulation win in Game 7.
Here's Chris with us. Hi, Chris.
Hey, good afternoon, guys.
Hi.
So I want to preface this point by saying I don't think goaltending is our biggest problem. I'd probably say, scoring and cracking Swayman in the first 2 periods of both games, and turnovers are probably bigger issues, like turnovers that lead to breakaways specifically. But someone made the point about, UPL got us to the division, and he's clearly the number one. So my counter to that would be, but Alex Lyon has the win streak record for a goalie and the away win streak record, things that haven't happened since like Miller. So I'm just wondering, how would you answer to that as far as justifying Lyon as like clearly the number 2?
Well, careful here. I'm not sure clearly was ever said. And I think
clearly wasn't said. You're right. That's right.
I mean, you're talking about what I said, and I firstly said I think I could listen to either side of this argument. But what happened in the season is Lyon had a quick stumble late. I think that's what we had. And then Luukkonen rose to the occasion and basically played them home and helped win them the division. So it wasn't like this was ever clear all year. But at the finish line, I had a clear number 1 goalie. There was no talk of who was going to play Game 1. So I want to be careful. I want to be, mindful of that. And if I'm Ruff, and I'm sure this, is obvious to him and would be part of the analysis, is just like, well, what was my conclusion here before the opener? I won the opener, and Luukkonen had a hand in that. He wasn't like, they didn't win 6-5 in Game 1.
Yep.
And, he had a couple of missteps last night. What do I do about it? Thanks, Chris. I like Bulldog's kind of keeping the long game in mind. I mean, it's going to go by pretty fast here. But what do you do if, negative outcomes? Game 3, I think that's probably part of what goes into the stew for this call.
Yeah, I guess I'd rather consider being proactive and making the switch when it is debatable and maybe more of a choice than it would be if they drop Game 3. Like, I think if they drop game 3, and I don't want to say regardless of how Luukkonen plays, because he lose a 4 overtime shutout in the 4th overtime and lose 1-0, you'd be like, okay, then maybe we really would be then having a conversation about load management because it is 2026 and not 1994. But he's also not Hasek. He's not Swayman. He's not Jake Ottinger. He's not what Luke. And I've been pulling for him. I kind of wanted, like, if you had ever cornered me during the season, really, I felt all year, are they going to choose a guy? I felt like when they are ready to choose a guy, they're going to choose him. He's got the contract. He's the bigger guy. He's the pedigreed guy. He's played internationally with some success. Like, he's the closest they've got to a guy. And Lyon is just like a veteran journeyman guy. I just thought they would, and it wasn't like they reached to do it, but they did it. But it's not like, all year one guy was clearly number one and the other guy was getting the back-to-backs or whatever. They were trading. So they're not so entrenched that pulling him should be jarring.
I agree.
So I just think it all adds up to I'm gonna try this, and if I need to go back to this guy, which ideally you win a series here, you can do anything you want after that. Like, I don't even think Luukkonen has to be gone for the rest of this series. I just think tomorrow night, with how yesterday went, and just the goals that went in, it's the two. The fourth goal wasn't great either. I think I would make the switch.
Okay.
Again, before it feels like I've got a gun to my head. Because if Luukkonen either they lose, or Luukkonen is bad and they lose, or whatever happens, but they lose this game tomorrow night, then you got to do it. And I just think that's a tough spot to put Lyon in. I think I put him in here. There's a little, the ice isn't that thin yet. And if he falls in, then I pivot back to Luukkonen, and hopefully my team is calm and I go win game 4.
I'd like to win 5-4 and then have this conversation on Friday.
Yeah, right.
Lyon, for what it's worth, I'm not sure it's worth much, but he did start the 2 games against Boston in October. The Sabres lost both, but he was the goalie for those 2 games. He did not play against the Bruins in either of the home games. One was late December and one was in March. Here's Chris next. Hi, Chris.
Hey, guys. First-time caller. I've been listening to you guys for over a decade here, so I really appreciate everything you do.
Thank you.
Nice of you to say.
I was calling. I was listening to some of the post-game yesterday, and I heard Paul make a comment about, I think he said something about it being silly, and Lindy kind of laughed at that, but something about like Beck Malenstein, subbing in for the power play. Is there like any kind of merit behind that? Or what do you guys think about just switching around the lines a little bit?
I don't. I mean, I don't know what I didn't hear this comment. I don't know. Are you trying to tell us that?
I heard about it.
You did?
Yeah. I hope it was a joke.
Me too.
Yeah, he uses the word silly quite a bit. So I double checked there. I kind of laughed a little bit, and then I was like, wait a minute, does he got got something behind that?
I don't think putting one of the least skilled guys on your team on the power play is a solution to the power play. No, I mean, Malenstein has a role. He's a hammer, and right. I'm going to use him like a hammer. I am not going to use him in a role that is really more like, I don't know what I even want here, a fountain pen. Like I just no, it's just not going to. That's not the solution.
Any other names that you guys think that would be, sufficient for something like that, like to switch it around just to get a couple faces? Because clearly it's not working.
I would try bringing Tuck back into the first power play. He's been on the second unit. And see if that doesn't jumpstart the first unit. And then who knows, it could jumpstart the second unit too. I'm not sure who the interchangeable guys are there. Is that Tuck and Quinn? Maybe. I might, thinking of your conversation you referenced with Lindy at that bar back in the 90s or whenever that was, you got to do something, right? He said they would be talking about it in the coach's room. So I don't know that Beck Malenstein doesn't come up in that meeting, but I kind of doubt it. But I'll bet they're talking about everything else.
Well, you do have 2 units. I've wondered this year, not to sound like, I'm Marty Baron or even you when it comes to hockey, sort of X's and O's, but isn't it more just how they do it than who's doing it? I mean, how you have Thompson and Dahlin to captain a power play and be 20th in the league or something and be 0 for 30. I think you could always go 0 for 30. The timing isn't great, though.
Right.
I feel like people have talked about there's a stagnancy to it, that they're predictable.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like, if I make changes to the personnel, is that changing? Might be too late for that.
Yeah.
But it was, I don't know, we're not alone. Like, it was brought up all year, this. And the coaches are on the hook for it because we know how big a deal it is in the playoffs, and it's already one in this series. Thanks, Chris. John is next. Hi, John.
Hey, guys. How are you? Listen, my comment is, having played goal in college and stuff for many years, my feeling is that when your number one guy is not there, the team tends to put more effort forward, knowing they got the backup guy in there. Not to say that the backup guy's terrible, but when your number one guy's in there, you've got a lot of trust in him when you make mistakes. Whereas when you got your backup in there, you're going to try extra hard because you know that, hey, you know what? We don't have our number one guy up front. We got to stick up for him. That's my first comment. So they play a little bit hard, I believe, when your number one's not in there. Number two is I hate the drop back on the power play. I feel it wastes time. And a lot of times you see these guys, they drop it back, they lose the puck, or it gets poke checked away. And you talk about guys waiting for you at the blue line. Well, the drop back, now they are all waiting for you up at the blue line. I'd like to see the Sabres just either cross the line or just dump it in. I like your thoughts on that. I wanted to ask Paul about that too, but I never got a hold of him.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Well, I know from talking to him, even did we talk to Paul yesterday? We did, didn't we?
You did.
Oh, right.
We did.
We did. That's right. You were here.
John can't get a hold of Paul?
Yeah, I don't know. Send me a DM, John. I'll send you Paul's number. Don't do that. Paul, I think, is going to tell you dump it in because you're trying to plow through the guys at the blue line. It's just not working. The idea is on the drop back is to attack that line with speed and get in there and establish possession. So you don't have to go win a battle in the corner and run it up the wall, get it to the point and kind of start. You just walk in and you have possession. But Boston is doing a very good job of complicating that, and it's just not working. So it's time to put the boots on and just throw it behind them and go in there and crash and bang and try to establish possession that way. So I totally agree. I think the traditional description you hold, John, of like the number one and the backup, it doesn't really work. As I sort of indicated a few minutes ago, Luukkonen became the number one 3 weeks ago. It's not like you're talking about an entrenched guy that played 60 games or 50 games even for you. They really split the year. They were co-number ones all year, and hockey tradition, I think, dictated to them that they wanted to choose a guy. Luukkonen's performance met the criteria. Lyon was compromised by injury and a couple of bad performances, and it just kind of came together. But so I don't know that they're going to try harder with Lyon in there because he's the backup, because they're the same guy. They have been the same guy all year.
It even necessarily implies that the Sabres don't try as hard as they could. Like that's what game one looked like to this caller. That really there was more. To me, it's laughable. It's not college hockey from the 70s, right? I mean, it's 2026. These are professionals. In the playoffs, I don't know if they're giving their full effort. Come on. Really, anybody watch game one and think that? Maybe if they put the other goalie in, they would look like they're trying harder. I mean, I think it's completely made up. Sigman Bloom at 4. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR. My friends at Empire Mike Schopp and the Bulldogs, some NFL draft today. Round 1 is tomorrow. Sigman Bloom coming up at 4, Chris Trapaso at 5. Back to the Sabres, in and out, and then with Paul Hamilton from Boston at 6. He's already there. Paul is, I know the last caller says he couldn't reach him. He's already, he's so on it that he's already in Boston.
He's in Boston. He is at the TD Bank North Garden waiting for the morning skate. That's all he's going to do in Boston. He's going to wait there with his microphone. No, he's there now already.
He's there now. The morning skate is going to be tomorrow.
It will be tomorrow. He's going to be waiting a while.
Yes. He'll be first.
All I know about Paul's plans in Boston is that he does not plan to go to Fenway for Yankees Red Sox because it's too cold. He already froze at a baseball game in New York a couple of weeks ago and was like, I'm not doing that again.
How cold could it be?
It's mid-40s, he said. Like 40, it's 44 degrees.
In Boston right now.
In Boston right now. That's what he said.
It's 67 out the window.
Okay, well, I mean.
Doesn't have to be the same.
It's 500 miles away.
Give or take. Hang on a second. I got to corroborate this. Come on, Paul. It's 60. No, it didn't change. The city changed and the number didn't. It's 50. Fair. High of 50. Okay.
By game time, it's going to probably be in the mid-40s.
Okay.
So anyway, but Paul's in Boston. That was the point.
Mike is next. Hello, Mike.
Hey, guys. I just I wanted to make a comment to remind you that as Sabres fans, we're well aware of great goalie management in the playoffs. Do you guys remember the Carolina series?
The Carolina series in 06 where
I think you can be pretty sure that we do.
The Hurricanes changed goalies a few times in that series.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. And it worked out perfect for them. It was Cam Ward in game 1 in a loss, Cam Ward in game 2 in a win. Then he got pulled in game 4.
He got pulled in game 3
in a loss. Then Gerber got a shutout
in game 4.
Game 5.
In game 4.
Game 4. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Then Gerber played in game 5, and then he got pulled in game 5.
Yep.
We remember.
And it went.
Yep.
Yep.
You're saying this is good goalie management?
I'd say that's probably perfect goalie management.
Sounds like a disaster to me.
It's
They're pulling goalies in multiple games in the series,
and they got away.
That's
with
what you want.
They got away with it. Is what happened.
Well, they got away with it, yeah. But it happened. I mean, it did happen. And I remember in the one game where the overtime loss, the Sabres overtime loss, when Gerber got pulled, I just remember thinking that they gave up, that Carolina gave up, but they ended up winning in overtime. So I mean, it can happen.
Anything can happen. What are we trying to figure out?
Is this supposed to inform the decision that is going to be made on goaltender tomorrow in some way? I mean, if your point is teams have switched goalies during playoff rounds, and they've done it a lot more recently than 2006, and had success, of course they have. It happens. It's hockey. We always kind of thought, like, for all this talking about them wanting to get to one guy, that both guys would probably play in the playoffs.
I think you're trying to avoid what happened to Carolina.
Yeah.
Myself. Thanks, though, Mike. Sigman Bloom next on WGR.
At 1 apiece following the Sabres' loss last night, and now the series heads to Boston for games 3 and 4. No practice today, but head coach Lindy Ruff did speak with the media, and while there is not going to be any official lineup changes today, Ruff did say Noah Ostlund is a possibility for tomorrow. And for more on the series heading to Boston, our own Paul Hamilton and Owen Parker have pieces up at our website, WGR550.com. And speaking of Owen, he and Brian Koziel will be live this Sunday from 11 to 2 p.m. at Hamburg Tap Room for pre-game coverage of Game 4 and more. It's presented by Neutral Vodka Seltzer. Keep it tasty this playoff season. We do have 3 games tonight at 7. The Flyers host Pittsburgh. Philly is looking to go up big 3-0 in that series if they can win tonight. 9:30, Dallas is in Minnesota versus the Wild. That series is tied at 1 apiece. And then Game 2 at 10 between the Oilers and the Ducks in Edmonton. The Oilers did take Game 1. Cowboys Executive Vice President Stephen Jones confirmed today with the media that wide receiver George Pickens will play on the franchise tag this year and that there won't be any talks for a long-term deal at this point. Pickens, though, does still need to sign the tag. And then tomorrow is draft day, round number 1. We'll get underway in Pittsburgh at 8 p.m. again tomorrow night. Our coverage, though, will begin an hour before that at 7 p.m. And with Game 3 also being tomorrow, Nate Geary, Derek Kramer, and myself will be covering the draft over on 9:30 WBEN. While in baseball, Bison's home against Columbus, first pitch at 6:05. That can be heard on our sister station, the Bet 1520. Jays are at the Angels. That game currently underway. Toronto is down 1-0 in the third. Yankees are in Boston versus the Red Sox, 6:45 there. And the Mets, they are trying to end now a 12-game losing streak as they host Minnesota at 7:10. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for Western New York's voice of the fan, WGR.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
We're up there, and, here are the people on the panel, so I'm, taking pot shots at Brian Brown. Because, that's what he came to Buffalo for.
It's Mike Schopp.
You literally told E.J. Manuel to his face that he sucked.
And the Bulldog.
I was proud of you, because I
feel like that's what you're there for.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
I know. I couldn't, though. No, I couldn't.
I'm better than you.
On WGR, Sports Radio 550.
You got to get my head out of this sleeper tweet about the mock draft. I can't stop. Jeremy just shared, maybe this is up Sigman's alley, but it does mostly seem like this would be a waste of his time. Sleeper tweeted.
So let's barrel ahead.
Sigman, somebody has tweeted a picture from a notebook of, it's called My Daughter's Mock Draft. And it's unbelievable. It's like a bunch of characters from something called Gabby's Dollhouse. Herself, her parents, made-up grandparents.
I think there's some frozen. There's frozen characters in there, I think, too.
Yes, the food beefaroni sneaks into the Bengals pick in round 2. Then there's a stretch at the end of round 2. They'll go Stitch, the Human Heart, Alexa, your thing in your house. Then spaghetti and meatballs and Santa. Just some insane.
Yeah, I thought chocolate lasted until the second round.
Chocolate.
The Falcons steal chocolate at offensive tackle.
What is going on here?
I'm just glad Sigmund started talking because there was a noise while you were still laying all this out that I thought maybe he threw his phone in a river.
No, he knows of it. That's even better. Not only was he great to speak at all, but he knows of it. He's seeing it or has seen it. Well, they don't call it the best time of year for football fans for no reason, Sigmund, with work like this. How are you?
Oh, it's great. It is the most wonderful time of year. I think this is New Year's Day for football fans, and you spend it with the people that really love the game and love the team, even if you're just watching to see what your team does. But it is a high holiday when we're pretty far away from the beginning of the season, and we learn a lot. We just don't know what it means sometimes for years.
Yes, and by next week we can argue about whether we have the right to even grade these drafts, which I fully believe that you do. Grading them in 3 years is pointless. We all see the results, but it's about process, right? That's why we want to grade these things as soon as they happen.
Well, and fantasy football basically revolves around taking a stand on something that hasn't happened yet, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Sigmund, we've talked some in here because we're I don't know how closely you would follow, what's going on in Buffalo, but the hockey team being in the playoffs for the first time in 15 seasons has got us kind of on tilt. And really, at this time of the year for the last, 14 years, maybe, not the entirety of the drought, we've just been, completely detached from the Sabres in the NHL because they're done playing. Here comes the NFL draft. And sort of as part of that, we've been talking about, is the draft, is it a down draft? Are there just not that many great players? Is it not that interesting? Or is it us? Because we're not as invested in what the Bills are going to do at 26 or, frankly, what anyone's going to do at any place because we've got hockey in the playoffs back. How do you view this draft? Is it a down year, or are we just missing it because we're enthralled with our hockey team?
We'll be enthralled with the Sabres. That was the best crowd. That was a crowd reaction right out of, European soccer hooligans. I mean, it was beautiful. As a Pittsburgh Penguins fan about to mourn this era of this team, I'm neurotic. So I please get carried away by that. You never know when you're going to get another chance, right? But as far as this draft, I think why people say it's a poor draft is that we don't have the amount of talent at the premium positions, offensive tackle, cornerback, even the edge talents that are the top aren't, it's not a Myles Garrett or even maybe like a Mario Williams kind of prospect. So there's not that alignment of the best talent and the best, most valuable positions. Instead, the singular players we have are an off-ball linebacker, Sonny Styles, a safety, Caleb Downs, even Arvell Reese is a tweener. Micah Parsons comes to mind, but there's a lot more guys that have failed to convert to a productive NFL player. And then Jeremiah Love, of course, the running back. So it just doesn't. But I'll tell you what's great about this draft. If you're just a football thinker and you love not just football, but the whole puzzle of team building and cap management, and how you win games, what positions, what qualities are important to win games, because these are all very different players. Teams can't just be able to make defensible positions based on some consensus board this year. Teams have to take a stand of what matters and what's going to help their team the most.
With Sigman Bloom, footballguys.com. Well, not quite as eagerly as other years. And the Sabres point that Bulldog makes is, I guess, part of this. We haven't had as much time for the draft as before. But not as eagerly as before have we sort of fixated on wide receiver for the Bills. And part of that is DJ Moore having happened. But it's still possible. And it does seem like another draft where there are names right in their range. And that's been the case for a few years now. I mean, JSN was one of these players once, and so was Treylon Burks and other guys, between and since. You have on your pre-draft Bloom 100, which I so love, Carnell Tate, Makai Lemon, Casey Concepcion, Jordan Tyson, right in a row. This is among not just skill position players, also defensive players, where there's a fantasy context. But just in terms of the receivers, Sigmund, can you tell us how you see the draft going? And is one of those guys, or maybe even more than one, likely to be available to Buffalo?
No, none of them will be available close to Buffalo's pick. Okay. Especially after Jordan Tyson worked out. But there's some diversity here. Carnell Tate, first or second off the board, maybe as high even as Tennessee's pick. Certainly Washington is a team to watch for Carnell Tate, and he's a winner at all three levels. He's a professional. He's smooth mover, route runner, body control, hands. He's the complete package. Second off the board probably will be Jordan Tyson. He could be first off the board. Amari Cooper is a name that comes to mind. I know Bills fans might cringe when I say Amari Cooper, but he's an incredible mover, creating separation. Not necessarily the best contested catches, not great after the catch, injured a lot, but he's the one that can win the dance contest. Makai Lemon is Amon-Ra St. Brown. It's not one-to-one in the terms of comparison, but he's just got that dog in him, and he doesn't mess up. He's one of those players that you want him on your team when the game is on the line. If that would be one potentially to trade up for, even though he overlaps with Khalil Shakir. And Casey Concepcion is similar to Makai Lemon as far as how you would play him, but maybe with some more speed and the movement ability to create separation as Tyson, and with some questions about drops. But there are some receivers, guys, that should be available at the end of the first round that I think, because if I'm looking at wide receiver, I think it's smart for them to be targeting wide receiver in this class, either in the first round or in the third or fourth round, and to try to get someone who can beat what Josh Palmer was supposed to be, someone who can beat man coverage on the outside and hopefully add some speed. And I think that's Chris Brazzell out of Tennessee. And if they just sit tight at 26 or trade out of the first round, then I think that's a player they should target and a player that can help right away in 3 and 4 wide receiver sets.
Do you suppose they should have decided by now that Josh Palmer's not going to work? I doubt they have.
I just don't think they can count on it.
Right.
I just don't think they can count on it. And this might be the last year, looking at the contract, this could be his last year on the roster. And you're making the nice thing about the DJ Moore trade is you're saying we're still 100% pushing for the Super Bowl. So, let's look at this first round pick and say who's somebody that can get on the field in the playoffs and actually make a play that can swing a game. And I think Brazzell is one of those guys.
Sigman, can I just follow up on Shakir for a second here? You may remember, we think of you sometimes when we think about, Shakir being drafted by the Bills now a few years ago, and you came on our show shortly after that draft and said, I really like this player. I have thought about him. I'm not sure if you would disagree with this. I've thought about him when you mentioned the word overlap about a prospect, that he's good, but he's in the way of certain things that they could maybe have the potential to do, because he's maybe a little too good. He's on the field. And they also have, the 2 tight end thing going that I think adds to that. It makes it even more maybe challenging to put a top offense together, because you've got a kind of a mid, if I may, slot receiver and then a first-round pick tight end who has to play but doesn't play with his hand down very often. I don't know. I just basically want to ask you what you think of where Shakir's at in his career and his value.
Yeah, I think that what we saw last year was, and he was banged up at times, but no, he can't really shoulder a passing game on his own. He's a complementary player. And like you said, the overlap in terms of Dalton Kincaid is neither of them are on the field for their blocking ability, and that takes, in this moment in the NFL, guys, we're in a moment in the NFL where this is your Zen koan of football. You have to be able to run to pass. And what that means is teams are going to overplay the pass, and you have to show that you can run. That's why Nick Emenwari was so valuable, because he gives the Seattle that flexibility. But Kincaid and Shakir don't really help out in the running game. They don't get a chance to have a move tight end who can maybe throw a lead block on a run and be a downfield target. So, but that's why I think going back to that ball winner downfield with speed. And it doesn't have to be Brazzell. There's a couple of small school guys. Trey Lance's little brother, Bryce Lance, out of North Dakota State, has vertical speed and length. Ted Hurst, I really like him as maybe a player who's moving up without a second-round pick. I don't know if they're going to be able to get him. But then there's these mighty mites. There are some guys. I remember Deontay Hardy was supposed to make a big impact for this team. Why not somebody like Brennan Thompson, somebody like Deion Burks, maybe on the third round, who isn't a full-time wide receiver, but gives you vertical speed and maybe surprising skills for a little guy at the catch point.
With Sigman Bloom. And by the way, if you didn't know, Shakir, I guess, just had ankle surgery or at some point in the offseason. I'm not sure I knew about that happening, but that's another thing that was needed.
Before we get back to prospects, I want to ask you about one other player on the roster at this position, and that's Keon Coleman. Sigman, what's the way forward there? Is there one? Because I think if it comes together right for them, and by right I mean they find somebody that they really like at 26, or maybe if they trade back, whatever. But they use one of their top 3 picks, assuming they maybe acquire a second in a trade down, that they use something by Friday night on a receiver that they will take whatever they can get for Coleman, is my guess.
Yeah, but we see like Jonathan Mingo got a 4th-round pick in return. I agree with that, because you talk about a player who would be taking snaps away from somebody who could do more with it. I mean, I think that's Keon Coleman at this point. And I think that, even Terrell Shavers at this point has more to offer. Mm-hmm. And I do think that you find out who liked him and who thinks they can fix him. And buys the idea that, oh, well, everything went sour with the organization, and that's really why we didn't see what he can do, because I think we've had enough opportunity to see what he can do. And when we saw a clip, or there was something today that came out, like the Bills said, we just want to trade out of the first. I really just don't want to make this pick. Carolina said, hey, we weren't even looking to trade back in. Maybe they wish they hadn't because of Xavier Legette. But, if you feel that way, like you didn't feel that strong about Keon Coleman in the first place, it's time to move on.
Concepcion, Sigmund, you said pretty matter-of-factly that you don't think he'd be available at 26. His over-under at BetOnline is right around there. It's 24.5. So is Denzel Boston, and so is Omar Cooper, like other receivers who could be picked right around the Bills' pick. If they wanted one at 26, they'll get one in that spot. Concepcion, though, you don't think he has a chance to make it?
No, I think he could make it, but he just overlaps so much with Khalil Shakir. Okay. Boston is a player they could be looking at. I think he's overrated. He looks more like Alec Ayomanor, the fourth-round pick for Tennessee last year, than, say, Tedroa McMillan. As far, he can win at the catch point. He does have length. He's not necessarily sluggish, but, he's not a dynamic mover, explosive player. So I don't think that's going to be that much different than like Gabe Davis. But I do think Chris Brazzell, he has like a Justin Hunter, Martavis Bryant, even George Pickens, that length but explosiveness and speed and the ability to win in the air. There's like Pickens, there's some questions about off-field. His game's a little rough around the edges in some ways, but that combination of length, speed, and athleticism is what they need.
How about Jeremiah Love? This is not a Bills question.
Sure.
Jeremiah Love, for you, I mean, I told Bulldog this earlier when we were talking about having you on, just like, you're really excited about him, yes? Until
the Cardinals take him.
Are you buying that? Are you buying that possibility?
Well, here's what I'm buying. Monty Austinforth, the GM, wants to trade down. There are probably other teams in the top 10 willing to trade down, and teams that want to trade up are a limited number, and they may not feel the need to trade up to number 3. And he is probably, I'm guessing, has a directive from the owner, from Bidwell, that Jeremiah Love's the pick if they don't trade out of it. And that's been stated pretty unequivocally at many places. So I think this is kind of like a please someone save us from we see all this, like, please trade up with us so we don't have to take Jeremiah Love because the owner is forcing us to do it.
Well, you have many years at this. It was laughable to me the way these reports from the insiders came out. Schefter's still banging the drum here. Like, he's still, it must be what they're telling him, that it's a real possibility.
We're going to take him unless you come up here and stop us.
Yeah, so I don't know. This has been sort of like an eye roll for these sort of draft smokescreen kind of, insider tweets.
Well, I think it's because owners can be manipulated. I think that it's not the coaches, it's not the GMs, it's the owners. You get a meddling owner, and I think that's what we're trying to see here. Hopefully, the team avoiding a meddling owner,
which is not easy in Arizona.
I don't think it is
historically. Sigman Bloom from FootballGuys.com.
Let me be glad that maybe Terry Pagula doesn't have Adam Schefter's phone number.
Yeah. Let's maybe. Running back 2 for you is whom?
It's Jarian Price, and he's one of those running backs that just because he was behind Jeremiah Love doesn't mean that he can't be a starter also. Some running backs I've seen him compared to, like Felix Jones, Tony Pollard. I think that's fair. Not necessarily someone that's going to change your offense or your team, but certainly can add with his rugged style paired with straight line speed. He hasn't been asked to be a receiver much, but I think that there's a lot to work with there. He still could fall to the second day, and if anything pushes him higher on the board, it's that there's a pretty steep drop off after him to the next tier. And guys, I think we may only see like 10 or 12 running backs from this class stick, and out of them, maybe like 4 or 5 that we see touch the ball every afternoon. It's just not a great class.
I love this column so much. It's 100 names and breakdowns of each player. And not only is anybody listening to Sigma now would attest to that, it's like good information, but it's also like there's personal information about the players that you talk, several times about players who've had some serious hardship in their lives. Sonny Styles was named after Sonny from The Godfather, Bulldog.
Right.
How about that?
This is important.
Great. It is important. He goes up on my board for that, even though he had probably nothing to do with it. I like that about him. And it's also defensive players like Styles, because some people play in fantasy leagues where you do, like Matt Schauf, I think almost quintessentially IDP leagues, and so it's useful from a fantasy standpoint, defensive players, and also it's a great read.
Sigman, where are you on Ty Simpson?
Oh, I think this is one of those, like, let's make a deal. This is the zonk, all right? Okay. If he falls to the second day, I will revise, because then he will be treated as a developmental quarterback, and he may get a few years to learn before he sees game action. But if he's a first-round pick, again, meddling owners, if the Cardinals trade down from number 3 and get a pick moved back into the first round and take him, he's going to start. Jacoby Brissett wants more money. He's going to start. Same thing with the Jets and Geno Smith. And there's just not the structure around him for him to develop. It's unfair. He should have stayed in school. You can use NIL years to make money and develop so that when it is your time, you don't mess up that opportunity. I just don't think we're back to Bill Parcells, guys. You need experience now. We saw what happened with J.J. McCarthy. Somebody is making the same mistake if they take Simpson in the first round.
I snickered at the reference to the zonk. Is what I was like. It was not meant towards Simpson, but let's make a deal. The one door 1, 2, or 3, the one that has like a cow back there. Did you even get the cow? Did you even get the cow?
I don't think they made you take the cow.
So.
I don't know.
I hope so.
If you
Did you
had
have
the
a
option
choice?
to leave with the cow. I don't know.
The zonk.
Well, you tickled me here, Sigmund, by mentioning Arizona when I asked you about Simpson, because my favorite draft idea is for the Bills to execute the Jackson Dart trade between the Giants and the Texans last year with Arizona at 26 and pick up, they got Houston last year, got 33, a second and a third this year.
Yeah.
And I don't even need the third next year. I would do it myself for a high second and a third. Just sign me up.
Yeah, and that's really, guys, for the folks out there taking a moment out from Sabres fever, you want them to trade down. You want them to trade down because this is a draft where there's a pretty steep drop-off after the 12 to 15, 18, quote-unquote first-round picks, but the next pool of talent stretches into the 50s and 60s. So the Bills should easily – Brandon Beane should have a list of like 5 guys that he'd be happy with at 26, and 1 or 2 of them is going to be there in the early second round, and then you fill in that hole at the third round on your board, that big hole, early third, late second, and that gives you the flexibility maybe to get a second player from that big tier of second-round talents, guys like D'Angelo Pons, I love, or even just with Jim Leonard coming in. Give Jim Leonard another pick to get a player that fits really well in what he wants to do.
Chris Bell, one receiver name we have not mentioned, played the baritone. I played the baritone.
Yeah.
I played the baritone for a girl. He played the baritone because he wanted to go to football games even though he was cut. So he joined the band, as you write. And I was in third grade. It was late in third grade, Sig. Mm-hmm. And the music teacher had us, he basically was teaching us what the instruments were. Mm-hmm. And I was interested in a girl, and she picked the French horn, and I wanted to stand next to her. So the next instrument was the baritone. I'm like, all right, 1 year a baritone, 8 years a tuba. That's what that led to.
Hey, following the rabbit down the rabbit hole, whatever that rabbit is. And I was a trombone player, and that's the clown of the orchestra. So I found it fitting.
Well, if I ever make the pre-draft Bloom 100, you can use that story about me.
Well, what we need to do is have the fantasy football all-star band like Stephen King did with the authors. We need to get a band together. Matt Waldman can be the band leader.
Yeah, right. He's a musician, isn't he, Matt?
He is a really fine musician, bass player, saxophone player, yeah.
Are you podcasting at all tomorrow for the draft?
Oh, yeah, with Matt Waldman and Bob Harris. Footballguys.com over our YouTube channel. We'll be live, having our football friends, because really that's what it's about. Like, who do you hang out with on New Year's Eve? Who do you spend the draft with? It's your best football friends, because, all possibilities are back on the table, and the Buffalo fans are getting a taste of maybe a pleasant surprise for once.
All right. I'll be doing ship chasing tomorrow night, so if you get bored, just jump over there. But we definitely, want to acknowledge their excellent work at footballguys.com, which we've been doing for many years. Hopefully to your satisfaction. You do take our calls,
Always.
at least.
Always. I always look forward to this. I mean, this is and to get to talk to you right before the draft when the peak attention is going on, and when the Sabres are having this great moment. And really, again, the Sabres just stand for, everything is possible. Maybe even the Pittsburgh Pirates will have a winning season.
Ooh, I wouldn't mind that. Sigman, thanks for your time. Enjoy the draft. I know you will.
Thanks, guys.
Sigman Bloom, footballguys.com, the pre-draft Bloom 100. And before you go asking, yes, there will be a post-draft Bloom 100 after all the landing spots are known. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. The Sabres lose. What? 803-0550. We'll talk to Paul Hamilton later. Look for your calls again after the update. This is WGR. Say I'm a big fan. Look, I met you at a 1994 all-time great, famous Sabres playoff goal, Dave Hannon against the Devils in Game 6 of a 7-game series loss.
Quadruple overtime. Was there any talk? Listen, guys, hey, big fan, Bulldog, I met you at a bagel store. I don't know if you remember, but just real quick, are we... Any talk of fear here for Game 7? I mean, it's quick turnaround on road trip. 70
he's
saves.
Won. I mean, he's got rings.
70 saves.
70 saves. I mean,
a lot of work.
He's a championship pedigree. I'll hang up. I just want to say I'm a big fan. We did not do that in 1994.
I don't remember. I wasn't on the radio in 1994.
You might have listened.
I surely did. I don't remember though.
Okay.
Yeah.
It would have been weird.
Yeah.
70 saves on 70 shots, about as good as you could ever do, as anyone has ever done. I don't think we were talking about taking them out.
Probably not. There wasn't a lot of load management talk then.
No.
For anyone, really. In any sport. I don't think load management is not a phrasing I had heard until, 10 years ago. Maybe longer, 15.
They lose Game 7 2-1, by the way. Wasn't like, they could have regretted the move. Or the non-move. Sabres were outshot in Game 7, 46-18.
Boy.
By the Devils.
The Devils. A boring defensive team, the Devils.
They had 46 shots.
In a regulation win in Game 7.
Here's Chris with us. Hi, Chris.
Hey, good afternoon, guys.
Hi.
So I want to preface this point by saying I don't think goaltending is our biggest problem. I'd probably say, scoring and cracking Swayman in the first 2 periods of both games, and turnovers are probably bigger issues, like turnovers that lead to breakaways specifically. But someone made the point about, UPL got us to the division, and he's clearly the number one. So my counter to that would be, but Alex Lyon has the win streak record for a goalie and the away win streak record, things that haven't happened since like Miller. So I'm just wondering, how would you answer to that as far as justifying Lyon as like clearly the number 2?
Well, careful here. I'm not sure clearly was ever said. And I think
clearly wasn't said. You're right. That's right.
I mean, you're talking about what I said, and I firstly said I think I could listen to either side of this argument. But what happened in the season is Lyon had a quick stumble late. I think that's what we had. And then Luukkonen rose to the occasion and basically played them home and helped win them the division. So it wasn't like this was ever clear all year, but at the finish line, I had a clear number one goalie. There was no talk of who was going to play game one. So I want to be careful. I want to be, mindful of that. And if I'm Ruff, and I'm sure this, is obvious to him and would be part of the analysis, is just like, well, what was my conclusion here before the opener? I won the opener, and Luukkonen had a hand in that. He wasn't like, they didn't win 6-5 in game one.
Yep.
And, he had a couple of missteps last night. What do I do about it? I like thanks, Chris. I like Bulldog's kind of keeping the long game in mind. I mean, it's gonna go by pretty fast here, but what do you do if negative outcomes? Game 3, I think that's probably part of what goes into the stew for this call.
Yeah, I guess I'd rather consider being proactive and making the switch when
the series is tied 1-1 and heads to Boston.
The
Sabres will take on the Bruins for Game 3 tomorrow night. Game 4 also, of course, will be in Boston on Sunday. No practice today for Buffalo. However, head coach Lindy Ruff did speak with the media, and while there was no official lineup changes, Ruff did say Noah Ostlund is a possibility for tomorrow. And for more on the series heading to Boston, Paul Hamilton and Owen Parker both have pieces up at our website, WGR550.com. And speaking of Owen, he, along with Brian Cozy, will be live this Sunday from 11 to 2 p.m. at Hamburg Tap Room for pregame coverage of Game 4 and more. And it's presented by Neutral Vodka Seltzer, keeping it tasty this playoff season. Speaking of the playoffs, we've got 3 games tonight at 7 o'clock. The Flyers host Pittsburgh. Philly is looking to take a 3-0 series lead as the series goes to Philadelphia. 9:30, Dallas is in Minnesota versus the Wild. That series is tied at 1 apiece. And Game 2 at 10 between the Oilers and the Ducks. That game in Edmonton, the Oilers did take Game 1. Cowboys Executive Vice President Stephen Jones confirmed today with the media that wide receiver George Pickens is set to play on the franchise tag this year and that there won't be any talks for a long-term deal. However, Pickens does still need to sign the franchise tag. And then in baseball, Bisons are home against Columbus. First pitch for that game is at 6:05. You can be heard on our sister station, the Bet 1520. Currently going on right now, the Blue Jays are at the Angels. Toronto is down 2-0 in the 5th. Yankees are in Boston versus the Red Sox at 6:45. And the Mets are now trying to end a 12-game losing streak as they host Minnesota at 7:10. It's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
I thought we started the game good. We had a couple good opportunities. I thought a lot of clutching and grabbing and, trying to slow the game down. But overall, you're not going to win every game. They got the experience of playoff win. Now you experience a loss. We've been a good road team. I'm looking forward to going to Boston.
Lindy Ruff last night.
I was glad to hear him use the old 80s, 90s phrasing, clutch and grab, because I thought there was a lot of that last night. We talked a little about Sturm. I missed the run-up to the series, right? Once we knew they were playing them and whatever, all the media started. We're the bigger, more physical team, stronger, whatever.
All of that.
And I thought that was all just sort of teeing up the refs. It wasn't meant, whatever. If it got in fans' heads, great. I doubt it got in the team's head. But I think it was for it's going to be physical. We're big. We're tough. Man, I thought last night was quintessentially that. Like every shoot-in was just a little more contested. A guy trying to get around the D-man. It was there was just a lot of stuff I thought could have been. I'm not ref guy usually. I thought Boston really did a good job of getting right to the edge last night. Just not dirty, but just. There was some of that, too. That McAvoy play was gross.
Just not legal.
Right.
Technically.
Just gross. And, Zadorov body slamming Zach Benson, whatever. There was some stuff. But the other stuff was more subtle, but it slows you down. And I think Boston really did a masterful job last night of doing that.
I'd like to think, too, that the Sturm comments from last week weren't in the Sabres' head. But Lindy had it in his head. He referenced it. Was it last night also?
Last night, yeah. He chuckled about it last night, yeah.
He can't help himself.
Yeah.
when it comes to that game between the coach. He loves it.
Yes.
I think. He never misses it. When another coach says a thing, like he's gonna have to get back to it.
Yes, and he did. He was prompted by a question about whether he thought they were more physical or something in the game last night, and he said basically like, yeah, well, their coach said they're the bigger, stronger team, so like, I'm definitely worried about it. And then he laughed. Yeah. So
that's Lindy.
The Lindy playoff mode has been activated.
Yes. Here's Jay next. Hi, Jay.
Hey, guys. Appreciate the time. Just real quick, touch on, face-offs in the power play. So, losing so many face-offs, you're starting the shift without possession, causing you to chase. And not to mention, every power play seems to start with a lost face-off. Now, on the power play, I agree with Paul. They need to start dumping it in, trying to win battles, because carrying the puck isn't working. I'd like to see them stop the drop-back pass in the neutral zone because, in my opinion at least, it tells other teams that they are going to carry it in. And they just stack all 4 penalty killers at the blue line, and then it's down the ice. So that's all I got. I'd just like to hear your take.
Yeah. Yeah, the draws on the penalty, on the power play just crush you. Especially when it's combined with, I have a problem getting established in the zone. Like, that is the biggest trouble the Sabres are having, is carrying it in and getting set up mostly. I mean, once they're set up, they move it around all right and they get some chances. Ruff even said, early there were a couple, and I don't disagree. But when you are having trouble, you're burning a third or half of or more of the penalty kill time, retrieving pucks from failure to get in the zone. Winning the draw to start the power play alleviates all that, at least until you lose possession. But, at least you've got it there and you can, get yourself set up and do whatever you want to do and maybe get a couple of looks. Instead, you're chasing, and now I'm trying to get back in, and that's not going well. And I'm chasing again, and next thing you know, you got 16 seconds left. You're like, what the hell happened? So the draws, at one point the draws were 24-5 or something in this game last night. I mean, jeez. I mean, that is so bad. And it really hurt him on the power play, is all. I agree with the point. There's draw, all face-offs are not created equal. We know from years of talking about this years ago that there's no correlation between being great at face-offs and having a great team. But, everybody knows why they went out and traded for Carrick. So they can win a draw late in a game, protecting a 1-goal lead in your own end and get the puck out of your zone and you preserve a win. Same goes on the power play. Win that draw, and I've given myself all kinds of bonus time here that I'm not chasing the puck down to my own zone and then trying to get it in the zone again and get it all set up. It's maddening.
Not legally obligated to discuss it. It's in my contract. But my last contract, I had it put in.
I think I covered it.
I think you did great. I will discuss it. It's not in my contract. And if it is, damn it.
Exceptions are made.
They're 61 and 68 in the 2 games, the Sabres, 47%. It's just a couple, because sometimes from talking so long in here, I'm the guy that doesn't think face-offs matter. Everything can't be important. And in certain situations, like you said, of course. What the problem is with the point, not your point, but just the topic, is what's the worst team in hockey going to be for a year? 45, with Sabres 45% for the year, probably the worst in the league. So you lose 11 out of 20. All right, which ones? That's always true. I guess, making saves on bouncing pucks from center ice is important too. I mean,
sure, yeah.
Everything's important, but not everything really is that important. It's also just the obsession with it that you get from broadcasts that kind of makes me crazy, because there's never any real analysis of it. It's just a simple, win the draw. I'd rather find out from the broadcast what the penalties are than what, the importance of face-off.
That would be nice.
I'd just like to know what the penalties were at certain times. Enough with the face-offs, but yeah. I mean, I did notice it last night, how one-sided it was.
To be whatever, that was into the, it couldn't have been the third period because that's such a small number of draws, but still 24-5 is, you're close to 50-50. Okay, great. You're going to lose some important ones. You're going to win some important ones, flip a coin. last night it just exaggerated the trouble they were having on the power play. To like, okay, all right, here's an opportunity for a man advantage, see if we can get the first goal in this game, and they lost the draw, and now the power play's over. Basically, like they never get set up, and it's just, what are we doing here?
Then the crowd gets mad.
The
crowd gets down.
At least if you win that first draw, you're giving yourself the chance to get that one setup, and who knows? Like maybe you get them running around, somebody breaks a stick, whatever. Like they even had that on one of their power plays last night. Somebody lost a stick, broke a stick. It was like only 3 men with sticks, and still nothing.
Here's Jack with us. Hi, Jack.
Hey guys, how you doing today?
Great, thank you.
Just want to, get your take on this. I've been watching, obviously, Buffalo, Boston, but I've also been watching Montreal and Tampa.
Yep.
And Montreal was the only team that I thought, compared to Buffalo, that could keep up with the speed. I think Tampa's slow. I think Boston's slow. They're older. But it seems that Montreal, they're not trying to match Tampa. They're hitting, they're finishing their checks, but they're not going out of their way to start stuff in that. And it seems like Buffalo is going in there with nobody's pushing us around in our barn, this and that. And I think it takes away from their speed, which that's the way they would beat Boston, in my opinion.
Yeah, well,
what do you guys think?
Well, that's a very interesting point to make here because we're obviously talking about the goaltending. They made a switch in the third period last night, and I already said I'd go to Lyon. But another lineup choice they have is Ostlund being very close to playing. Lindy said today he's an option for tomorrow. So the spot there, not necessarily where he'd go in the lineup specifically, but I think the guy that comes out, if you're making room for him, is Dunn. And that plays exactly into what the caller's talking about. Because now you're going on the road, and you've got Dunn and Malenstein drawn with Jeannot between the benches there in the game. One point, Alex Lyon is yelling at Jeannot. Like, it got testy. The Bruins didn't engage because they were ahead 4-0, and of course they weren't going to. I don't think that there was any chance that was going to happen at the moment in the game when it seemed like maybe it could because of that drawing at each other. You take Dunn out now, like I wonder how reluctant Ruff will be to do that because Dunn is that he can handle himself. And if they feel like that team needs that, especially on the road, then you're leaving Ostlund over there, and that's exactly the caller's point. If Montreal, I'm not watching that series as closely as the caller is. I saw some of the game one before the Sabre game started, but that was it for me. I wasn't in a position where I could be changing channels or double screens or anything.
It's tough to watch both.
Yeah, I mean you could have them on the same TV, but I couldn't even do that, like split screen. But if Montreal is just playing their game with skill and speed and not worrying about the nonsense. I mean, I know there's been lots of fracas and after the whistle nonsense in that series. I've seen enough of it to know that. But their lineup's their lineup. Like, I wonder what Ruff will do with that in mind. Because Ostlund, I think they have missed him.
He has to go in.
And if Dunn is the one who comes out, that's one of your bigger, more physical guys going on the road. I think I'll support it. Because I like the idea of just don't worry about that. But Ruff has got to weigh whether these guys, nobody's going to stand in front of a bunch of microphones or even off to the side with a reporter and say, like, actually, I was intimidated. But guys get intimidated. They do. Like, coaches will tell you that they can see their team, being, scared even. So I would support it. I wonder if Ruff will do it.
I also wonder, but I would really like to see it. And this has been a thing that has worried me the whole time about them is, are you going to overcompensate whatever you think your deficiencies could be even? It's not even what we know that they are, but just could be in this area. That's what the trade deadline was about, was getting bigger. And I don't know, like I've never exactly bought into it. I still don't want to buy into it or haven't bought into it. And these very points from yourself and from the caller, I think his name was Jack. I think it can happen where a team gets too carried away with how physical it needs to be. Just play. I mean, there are times, but I don't think the Sabres should be as worried about it as they might be. They certainly didn't leave game one thinking this was an issue.
Right.
But last night, I thought yesterday, maybe Boston's only move was to just do a little bit more. If they get called for penalties, then they do. Go ahead and score then. And the Sabres can't. So I think that was a good bet yesterday, and it kind of happened. I mean, it wasn't so obvious all the time.
It wasn't Goonie stuff, but they were more physical in the game. There was enough. I already said it, right? The McAvoy hit Zadorov on Benson. That was, dirty stuff that would rile you up. But mostly they were just in the way more.
You just have to make them pay for it.
Yeah.
When you get the chance. We will take a break. Chris Trapaso on the draft coming up at 5. Round 1 is tomorrow night. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR. Welcome back. Chris Trapaso in about 11 minutes. NFL Draft Round 1 tomorrow night. Coverage all weekend on WBEN or here on WGR. With the Sabres in the playoffs, we have to bug those guys. We got to bump their shows.
Right. Thursday night's Round 1 will be on WBEN.
Yeah.
The Sabres are playing at 7.
Their normally scheduled programming will not air Thursday night. Which I want to say is Jim Bohannon, but the show has never sounded older than that.
I was going to guess Dr. Dean Adele.
Frank is next. Hello, Frank.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure thing, Frank.
I got kind of an issue where I think our problems are probably worse than the power play. I think, like, Dahlin just needs to wake up out there. Like, he looked shook last night. And the passes, they haven't been the crispiest. They've been jumping over sticks. And I even seen 2 guys run into each other last night. All I think is they just need to get their heads together. But I do believe that this loss was actually a really good thing because they got it out of the way early. And like Lindy said, they got both sides of the spectrum. Just hoping they can fix that power play, though. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, sure. The D-men, I mean, Samuelson had the goal, of course. I feel like Byram, out of the big 4, Byram is the only guy that I am feeling like looks dangerous here in these first 2 games. Out of those 4 guys, I think Power's been pretty uneven, and Dahlin has not been their best guy to me back there, and that's a big part of the problem. And it's not so much that they, I think, aren't connected or dialed in, or I think Boston was on them last night. They made exiting the zone very hard, and there just was very little room for them to operate. And Dahlin's got to find his way because I don't think he's had a couple of very good games at all.
Thank you, Frank. Tonight is what? Penguins at Flyers is one. That's an early one?
Yeah, that's the only 7 o'clock window game. That is game 3 in that series. Philly's up 2-0. Dallas and Minnesota are at 9:30, and then 10 o'clock you've got Edmonton and Anaheim, and those are all TNT tonight.
Right, TNT, HBO, ESPN gets the night off. Chris Trapaso after the update coming up. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
The series heads to Boston, tied at 1 game apiece following the Sabres' loss last night. Now games 3 and 4 will be in Boston. Game 3 is tomorrow. There was no practice today for Buffalo, but head coach Lindy Ruff did speak with the media, and while no official lineup changes, Ruff did say Noah Ostlund is a possibility for tomorrow. And for more on the series heading to Boston, Paul Hamilton and Owen Parker have pieces up at our website, WGR550.com. And speaking of Owen, he, along with Brian Koziel, will be live this Sunday from 11 to 2 p.m. at Hamburg Tap Room for pregame coverage of Game 4 and more. It is presented by Neutral Vodka Seltzer, keeping it tasty this playoff season. Speaking of the playoffs, we've got 3 more games tonight. At 7, the Flyers host Pittsburgh, and Philly is looking to take a 3-0 series lead. 9:30, Dallas is in Minnesota versus the Wild. That series is tied at 1. And then Game 2 at 10 between the Oilers and the Ducks in Edmonton. The Oilers took Game 1 of that series. Cowboys Executive Vice President Stephen Jones confirmed today with the media that wide receiver George Pickens is set to play on the franchise tag this year, and there won't be talks of a long-term deal. Pickens, however, does still need to sign that tag, and then tomorrow is draft day, round 1. We'll get underway in Pittsburgh at 8 p.m. tomorrow night. Our coverage, though, will begin an hour before that at 7 p.m., and with Game 3 also being tomorrow, Nate Geary, Derek Kramer, and myself will be covering the draft for Thursday over on 930 WBEN. Friday and Saturday will be right here on WGR. And in baseball, Bison's home against Columbus. First pitch at 6:05. That can be heard on our sister station, the Bet 1520. Jays are at the Angels right now. Toronto is down 3-0 in the 7th. Yankees, they are in Boston versus the Red Sox at 6:45. And the Mets, they are looking to end a 12-game losing streak now as they host Minnesota at 7:10. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
You know, I gotta wonder what kind of working relationship he'd have with Satan.
It's Mike Schopp.
I've often wondered that.
Like he, they, I don't know what his pronouns are, or their pronoun. Anyway, Satan.
And the Bulldog.
What's the upside of doing well?
Well, maybe they're too busy making everyone else's life hell.
Oh, boy.
And you might just be able to do your own thing if you're partnered with Satan.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
They're too busy, making Scott Norwood miss field goals.
Oh, come on.
On WGR, Sports Radio 550.
What do you guys think of this move? Bulldog just put last night's Sabres game on. The soccer game we were watching ended. It's not like, it's obvious great options or anything at 5 o'clock. You'll often turn the TV off at this point.
That's right. That's right. We used to watch the news. We just fell out of that habit. I don't know. Neither of us seem to really miss it.
I still do when you're not here.
Oh, good for you. I looked at the guide, and it was on, and it was wrapping up. It was 3 to 5 on the guide, and then I noticed that it was going to start up again at 5. I'm like, I'm just going to leave it on.
I walked in from the break, and it was Josh Allen chugging a drink.
Yeah, right.
And did you also see some stay away Josh Allen after late in last night's game?
Yes, I did.
Online?
Yes,
I saw
did.
some of that.
Yes, I did. Oh, the Bills Sabres lost a big game.
Let's get the Bills involved.
Right.
Although there were several Bills at Game 1.
Yeah, there were, yeah. So
it's not him.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, right. He wasn't in town for Game 1.
The
he said.
Tide has turned.
But, yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I might see something that I missed last night, although, with us being on the air, it's very doubtful that'll happen. But, whatever. It's going to keep us company.
Here is Chris Trapaso, who, it seems from Twitter, has news today. So our timing is fortunate. Chris, what's going on?
Hey, so first off, thanks for having me on this draft season. I think I got to say that just because this is the last show that I'll be on before the draft. On starting Monday, I'm going to be I believe the title is Team Site Producer, full-time at Buffalo Rumblings. It's essentially the newer title for Editor-in-Chief. It's a job that I had during the, I think, first year of the Tyrod Taylor era. So more than 10 years later, I'm back. We'll be covering, analyzing, managing a staff of a lot of great writers at Buffalo Rumblings as part of SB Nation.
Well, that's excellent, man. Glad to hear it. We know we fell into, this relationship with you when you were with CBS, and we knew that ended a while ago. And so glad to see that you landed somewhere really cool that you're familiar with.
Good job, Chris.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. And to just be, I'll certainly dive into the draft every year, but just to be solely focused on the Bills and just be, I've gotten to know so many of you guys in the Buffalo media, and I'm just really excited to be part of that tight-knit community covering the Bills on a regular basis.
Well, we're happy for you.
Very good. So here we are. It's 26 hours, right? 7 o'clock tomorrow for the first pick. And it's 8 minutes now, not 10 in the first round.
It starts at 7? Or at 8?
Doesn't it start at 7? Do you know, Chris?
I think it starts at 8.
Okay, sorry.
7 on Friday.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense. But it's shorter clocks this year.
Remember when it was 15 minutes?
I do.
In each pick?
Yes.
You guys remember, too, when it started on Saturday. It was Saturday, Sunday. It was like at noon and then at 9 a.m., which in this day and age of primetime television seems bananas that it used to start on the weekend and in the morning.
Yeah, and it's not like this was the 1970s.
No, but in the 80s, it would start on it would be Tuesday morning at 9.
Right.
And it would not be broken up.
My favorite draft movie, which is not really a movie, is that 30 for 30 from Elway to Marino, and they show, obviously Jim Kelly involved in that, they show a little card. It was at the Hyatt Hotel or something in New York City, and it literally, what you just said, Mike, it showed, start time, Tuesday morning, whatever the date was, 1983, 9 a.m. on a Tuesday. That's when they had it.
Yeah. That's right. I may or may not have stayed home that day from school. From
all I'm
sixth
saying
grade.
is whenever the Whitner draft was, that was a Saturday. The first round was on a Saturday.
20 years ago.
That's it doesn't feel that long ago to me because it was in the 2000s, but it is a long time ago. I know.
So here, as close as we are, however the math exactly works, what's your final answer or final guess as to what the Bills will have in mind?
Man, it's so tough because they have a bunch of needs on the defensive side, but I don't think a litany of them, because they did sign Bradley Chubb, they did sign C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who are veterans that were in need positions. It's just that defensive tackle and linebacker are the obvious selections, and I still think we all can kind of agree, probably even Brandon Beane, that they could use more wide receiver firepower. So picking at 26 in a draft that has very little blue chip talent that we've talked about the last 2 months. It's just going to be hard. It's even hard to predict who the first 3 or 4 picks are going to be. Typically, it's we feel great about number 1, and number 2 is probably this guy. Number 3 is most likely this guy. Number 4, this is just totally throw all caution to the wind and have no idea what is ultimately going to happen. So I think defensive tackle, if I had to put money on it, is what the Bills will ultimately do in the first round. But I don't think Brandon Beane will shut off his phone and not take a call if he could potentially move out from 26 like he did in 2024.
I'm just dying for the Cardinals to want to get something together with Ty Simpson at the 26th pick, Chris. This is my favorite idea. I've never been Mr. Trade down or anything, but I just feel like with the quantity of players available in that window, mid first round into the second, to the end of the second, you could really do well to pick up something in that space that won't be that different from probably what you'd get at 26.
For sure. And I think myself and Mike have been more of the trade down advocates every year, but I think this year it's screaming a little bit more for what you just outlined. And we will get to, hopefully it won't be too late, and there'll be a Sabres game going on, so it's going to be a really fun Buffalo sports night. We will get to whether it's 10:30, 11, 11:30, and we will all say, oh my gosh, all these players that we've read about and talked about, he's still available, that receiver's still available, that edge, that corner, that. So it's really a draft where I think it would behoove the Bills to trade back because of what I said at the outset, that they still have a fair amount of needs on the defensive side, and to come out with 3 picks on day 2, I think would be better than just having 2 picks between day 1 and day 2.
Will they have a partner is the question. This one particular idea is often, if not always, the one that comes up. And it was maybe yourself, Chris, or Sal. Somebody made the point. Boy, I'm stuck on this now. Maybe it was Jeremy. On that pre-draft show we had one of our guys said, you don't even really, the 5th-year option really doesn't matter anymore. Because if you draft Ty Simpson whenever and start him, and he's great, you're going to give him, you're going to do what the Bills did. Like, you're going to give him.
After year 3, you're giving him
right.
a contract.
When it's first time to negotiate, you're just going to do it. So the 5th-year option guys tend to be really iffy calls that usually I would say, I bet if I looked this up, it would be this. Teams end up regretting it, where maybe we feel like we're priced into it. Anyway, the point is, in a year where people are down on the draft, how hard will it be to make trades from that range? It seems like an area in the draft where you have to wait to do it. You want to see if somebody falls that you like or if anybody wants to jump up. It might be a tough year to pull that off.
Yeah, I think that does make sense, and that's kind of the conventional wisdom. But I do think if you just look back at draft history, there is usually, and this is not like over the course of time, it's recent, that yes, the idea is always floated, oh, this team wants to move back in and get Lamar Jackson or get Teddy Bridgewater or whatever the case may be. But there's usually like one non-quarterback that a team trades up for in the back 10 picks of the first round. I think this year that could be Chris Johnson, the really explosive and productive corner from San Diego State. It could be one of the offensive tackles. I think at the top, it's a very top-heavy offensive tackle class. I think we could see as many offensive tackles go off the board as wide receivers in the first round. So whether it was James Pierce last year, in 2020, Kenneth Murray, who's ended up being a bust, linebacker, the Chargers traded up for him, Marcus Davenport in 2018, the edge rusher, the Saints traded up for him. So don't be surprised if, hey, maybe there's like a lot of buzz or a lot of reports come out during the first round tomorrow night where, hey, the league is kind of down on Ty Simpson and the Cardinals aren't going to do it. The Jets want to see if he falls to them in the second round. The Bills could still be in the trade down market, but I do agree that it would be a little bit harder conceivably right now than it would be in most classes. But don't forget about the possibility of a team trading up for a non-quarterback, because it typically happens where, kind of similar to what Brandon Beane did himself in 23, where they're for a team that's just outside of the first round, or the Seahawks or the Patriots that are like, oh man, we have one first-round grade left. We don't think he's going to get to us. Let's send a third and a fifth to the Bills to move up to 26 to get a Chris Johnson, or to get a Blake Miller, the offensive tackle from Clemson, or if one of those edge rushers ultimately falls that people really like. I could see that happening too, and that's just not speculation.
Yep.
That's just looking at how teams have behaved over the last 5 to 7 years, trading up for a non-QB.
Do you know how much trading up for a non-QB affects the return? Like, is there like a QB?
Much.
Is there a QB tax, I guess?
There's a little bit of a QB tax. I can't tell you specifically what that would be, but in general, teams follow the Jimmy Johnson chart. It's been edited a little. There's the Rich Hill chart that's really good. There's the over the cap guys have one, but it seems like it's basically like whatever the trade was, and I think we talked about this a few weeks ago. Whatever the trade position was last year, which ironically that Jackson Dart one was only one trade different, or one pick different. It's like you have to do slightly better than last year. There's inflation more so than, oh, who are you trading for? Are you trading up for a corner? Are you trading up for a safety? Or is it edge? Or is it a quarterback? It's not typically that much of a tax relative to just doing better than last year in terms of the compensation back.
I think I would bet that the Bills find a way to do this. I mean, Beane isn't always trading down. I mean, he's traded up plenty of times too, but he likes to move. I mean, it's kind of the fun part of the job is moving around. He's got, he's missing a second-round pick at the moment. We probably would have a chance to recoup that by getting out of 26. I think my money would be on that is what we get, but hard to know without knowing what other teams are going to do around them. Xavier Worthy also was a player who was traded up for.
Here's what I would say. This is going to sound obvious. Yeah, sure. This is what I would say that's obvious, but it's kind of interesting. I think that the two teams directly in front of the Bills, the Browns at 24 and the Bears at 25, obviously they just impact the Bills because they're picking right in front of them. But I think if Casey Concepcion goes to the Browns, and I would be semi-surprised if he gets past Cleveland, And then if Caden McDonald goes to the Bears, and it seems like if you look at the Bears roster, they need defensive line help, or if maybe Caden McDonald's already gone, I could see that ultimately being the catalyst for being saying, all right, our first rounders are done. Let's get out of here. Let's even, we're not trying to pull off a big heist and get a bunch of picks, but we don't really see anyone that's worth the 26th overall pick. So for as much as we will be kind of zeroing in, and hopefully that'll be after the Sabres game is done on 24 and 25, I think the team needs for the Browns and the Bears actually have a direct impact on what the Bills could do at 26.
And for Cleveland, for what it's worth, that'll be their second pick of the first round.
Yeah.
They also pick 6.
They could go receiver at 6 too. Yeah, true.
Carnell Tate, right in the state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you have a Bills question left? I was going to ask about somebody that we haven't talked about yet.
I was going to ask here, Chris, if you have, trade scenarios put over on the side for now, how many guys do you feel like there are, if they're there at 26, that the Bills absolutely have to take them?
For me, it's a reasonably small group. Concepcion, obviously. I think Malachi Lawrence, we've talked about Cassius Howell and that he's got the burst and the bend, and he's just a prototype. But we've always mentioned that he has 0 percentile wingspan and arm length. Cassius Howell is like a very, very similar player and is bigger. He's like 6'3", 6'4", 255.
Lawrence, this
crazy
is you're
long
talking
arms,
about now, right?
Or Lawrence, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Very long arms and has similar burst. Had a 40-inch vertical, 11-foot broad jump. Like, he is a freaky athlete. So a lot of the same things that we've talked about with Cassius Howell, maybe because he's coming from the SEC, Texas A&M, more in the spotlight, Malachi Lawrence would give the Bills that right away. He's same age. It's not like he's 25 and Cassius Howell's 22. Like, they're both 23 years old, ready to go NFL edge rushers. But with Lawrence, you don't have the concern about the arm length. So him, Concepcion, this is going to sound weird, but if Dylan Sieneman somehow falls to them at 26, even though they've added a bunch of safeties, the long-term stability that you would get at safety with Sieneman and Cole Bishop would be tremendous. I'm not a huge Caden McDonald person, but I would understand it. And the one other name that I'm not going to put him on the list of they would have to pick him, but just to kind of throw it out there because I don't think we've talked about him, Kristen Miller from Georgia is kind of like the 1B to the 1A that Caden McDonald is the 6'2", 320-pound run stuffer. And they're from the big schools. They're well coached. They're strong. I could see that just being like, hey, he's our last first-round grade. We have him kind of graded at 26 or 28 or 30. We're just going to pick him here. But to me, the ones that they would have to pick, Concepcion, Malachi Lawrence, and you could convince me on Cassius Howell too.
With Chris Trapaso, Mike Schopp, and the Bulldog, I'm sure you're familiar with Benjamin Solak, who is now with ESPN.
ESPN. Yeah.
He runs a contest every year where people can guess at the exact draft slot of players in the first round, as many as they want, up to 32. He says picking 32 is insane, but you could pick one, and if you pick Mendoza and that's your entry, and if nobody else gets even one right, you win. The tiebreaker is the most guesses. Last year's winner, he tweets, guessed 25 names correctly in the first round. That's crazy to me. To get
25, the right teams and the right positions, or just where that player was picked?
Just the position, not the team. So Travis Hunter at 2 counts, but it wasn't the Browns.
Someone got 25 of 32?
That's what it looks like to me. I was wondering.
That seems insane, right?
Yes, to me it does.
That's insane because even like when I used to do mock drafts, and thankfully I don't have to do them anymore, at CBS I was more keenly aware of this, but like Daniel Jeremiah and Mel Kiper, they'll come out with their final mocks either today or tomorrow, and you look back at the history, they have like
7,
maybe 7 or 8. If they have a really good, a quote-unquote good mock draft to finish, it'll be 9 or 10 in terms of either, oh, he gets a point there because he got the position right, or, well, not the right slot, but he did have Zay Flowers to the Ravens. It's always like 1/3 or less. It's like 1/4 of the first round for the most plugged-in insiders, usually.
I think you have to bet against trades. And last year there were no trades. There was Hunter up top, of course, but after that, there wasn't a trade until Dart in the first round. So you have to assume the team in the slot and know what their needs are going to be making that pick to have any chance. This is 25 right without a mistake. Because if you get in this contest, and I'll get to a question here, in this contest, if you get one wrong, you're out. So this guy got, actually 1 to 25 as it happens. How deep do you think you could go with any confidence this year? Everybody knows 101, but even 102 is not unanimous at this point. Do you think you could get the top 5 right, say?
No, I don't. And I mean, I don't know if that makes me like a bad draft analyst, but it's something that's funny. Like in my family, like early on when I was getting involved, and now like my daughters ask me, they used to say like, "How did your mock draft do?" And it was like my whole career hinged on this mock draft, and I was like, "No, it doesn't." I'm like, I much rather care about getting that I was right on Keon Coleman or right on Khalil Shakir, or I missed on this player, as opposed to the final mock draft. It feels like, though, to answer your question, though, this top 5, it's like the Jets have purposely put out like misinformation on both sides. Do they love David Bailey? No, they canceled the last top 30 visit, but they don't like Arvell Reese, but they do like him. And then Arizona, Tennessee, and the Giants, it's like they all apparently love Jeremiah Love. So it's very hard to tell with this top 5 because those teams are all like they have needs across the board. And typically, even in the top 5, we know those are the worst teams. It's like, oh, the Chargers are going to pick an offensive tackle, whether it's J.C. Latham or it's Joe Alt, they're going to pick an offensive tackle with this pick. That's not the case for the Cardinals, the Jets, the Giants, even going further to the Browns. These are teams that have a litany of needs, and it's not that top-heavy of a draft. So that's what's making it really hard to start that ripple effect. We don't really know what's going to happen in those top couple of picks.
Okay. Upon closer inspection, you don't have to get the position right either. You just have to, in this particular contest, you just have to name as many first-rounders as you can without a mistake.
Oh, okay, because I thought that was like,
I know.
There's 18 million people.
Right.
That seemed way too high.
I read it too fast, and I'm looking at this guy's list, and he has Tyler Warren as the first tight end picked, and I know he was not the first tight end picked, so he didn't have to get the order right. I'm sorry
So how many first-rounders? That I think we all could do. Like, I'm not going to say like I could be like better than everyone else. I think getting between 20 and 27 you could probably do.
Mm-hmm.
But I have said, I've gone on the record, I think we will get, and whether you want to say that these guys are off the beaten path or not, we'll get those, and maybe it starts with the Bills, from 26 to 32, more like, hey, teams couldn't trade out. They are not necessarily desperate, but there are players that they have graded higher than the consensus first rounders, so that you'll get a Chris Johnson or a Malachi Lawrence or Eli Stowers, the big-time testing tight end from Vanderbilt. I think this year's draft, we normally have a few. I think there could be more than normal if those teams can't move out of the 20s and early 30s, where it's just like, hey, I didn't see him in any mocks, and now this guy's a first-round pick.
Well, the trick to this particular game, too, would be to avoid the fallers. Like, there would have been plenty of Shadur Sanders entries last year as a first-round pick.
And like Will Johnson, the corner from Michigan who went in the second round. That could be Jermad.
Exactly. Yeah,
McCoy this year from Tennessee. Like, yes, to make sure you're only putting in those guys that have had no rumors about a potential fall for them.
You'd have to avoid that. Last thing for me, what do you think happens with Ruben Bain?
I think he goes top 10. I think somewhere between the Commanders at 7 and maybe his floor is the Dallas Cowboys at 12. And it's kind of been annoying with Bain in that, which I don't want to seem like a Debbie Downer, like I hate all the prospects that everyone likes. There's a lot of these top-tier prospects that I like a lot, and that happens every year. But the growing consensus was, oh, it doesn't matter at all about arm length. Just watch the film. And I'm like, guys, there are so many really good players in college that just didn't ultimately have either the athleticism or the physical requirements to ultimately be really, really good in the NFL. So to suggest that, like, Ruben Bain has some flaws, and a very clear one that he has first percentile wingspan, and that's a little concerning, especially for a top 10 pick, does not mean that, like, anyone that's doing that is a hater. But, like, all of the old school hardcore football guys are like, oh, just watch the film, that's all that matters. I'm like, that was the case, every All-American would just go on to be the best players in the NFL. And obviously that's not the case.
Thank you, Chris, for all your time this season. Maybe we'll do this once more if you're up for it next week to recap.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I don't want to end on a negative note like that. So let's go through all the Bills picks next week. So there's no more speculation.
Yep.
And you guys know I've done the homework before, so there's no hindsight. I'll give you, if I don't like a Keon Coleman pick, or I don't like a Landon Jackson pick, or I love a Khalil Shakir pick, I'll let you guys know.
And you liked Hairston last year, right?
Yeah, oh yeah. I had him 18 overall, I think. Yeah, I liked him a lot.
Very good. Thanks again, Chris.
All right, guys. Appreciate it.
Chris Trapaso on the Wester Hotline, round 1 of the NFL Draft tomorrow night. Because of Game 3, Sabres Bruins, our coverage will be on News Radio 930 WBEN. That means that Dr. Joy Brown will not be heard at her regular time. Why am I? Is that a shot? I don't really mean to take a shot at our friends. I'm just trying to be funny. It's probably not worth it. Maybe that is what's on. I don't know. I probably should know. Maybe it's Joy Brown. I don't mean it as a shot. They're our friends. I mean, ask me what's on at 8 tonight on this radio station.
I have no idea. I don't know what's on anywhere anymore. Just know when the hockey's on. That's it. And oftentimes not sure where.
Where? It's impossible these days.
Oh, wait. Oh, wrong. Oh, wrong. Oh, there it is.
If I'm okay to say this, I'm not even going to find out. I'm just going to say it. It's gotten me this far. My wife and Jeremy's wife work together, and I was in the same room, so I was able to hear it, their work call to start the day. And Jeremy's wife was talking about how, she couldn't find Game 1. She couldn't find it.
Mm-hmm.
She's got the kids are running around, and they're watching something maybe, and I don't know whether it was just I give up or just whatever. There was some struggle to find Game 1 on TV. And, Carolyn mentioned to me later, that she was so relieved to hear someone else
struggle
the way she is, which I never know where, we don't have the Sabres tonight. We do. You got to go to the HBO tab, and then who would ever sort of intuitively think that?
Right.
That's what you got to do tonight to find
all
the
three
NHL
games
in my
are
house.
TNT tonight, so yeah.
Bulldogs ready to go to Alex Lyon.
I feel like we should say more often, maybe, just as a public service, if you're looking for these TNT games, if you have HBO, that you can find them there. I don't think I have two very good friends that asked me about this the other day. Where are you getting these TNT games? And I said, well, I have HBO. He's like, and they both have it. Really? All year I've been going out when the game's on TNT and I could have been watching on HBO. I'm like, yup.
Is one of these friends Jeremy's wife? Or
No, it is not. It's not Jeremy's wife.
All right. Yeah, good idea to mention that.
Yeah.
Back after sports, Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
As the series heads back to Boston, tied at 1 apiece following the Sabres' loss last night. Games 3 and 4 will be in Boston. There was no practice today, but head coach Lindy Ruff did speak with the media, and while there is not any official lineup changes, Ruff did say Noah Ostlund is a possibility for tomorrow. And for more on today and the series heading to Boston, Paul Hamilton and Owen Parker both have pieces up at our website, WGR550.com. And speaking of Owen, he, along with Brian Koziel, will be live this Sunday from 11 to 2 p.m. at Hamburg Tap Room for pregame coverage of Game 4 and more. It's presented by Neutral Vodka Seltzer, keeping it tasty this playoff season. And with the playoffs, there are 3 games tonight at 7 o'clock. Flyers host Pittsburgh. Philly is looking to take a 3-0 series lead. 9:30, Dallas is in Minnesota versus the Wild. That series is tied at 1 apiece. And Game 2 at 10 between the Oilers and the Ducks in Edmonton. The Oilers did take Game 1. And in baseball, Bisons are home against Columbus. First pitch is at 6:05. That can be heard on our sister station, the Bet 1520. In the majors, the Jays are at the Angels. Toronto is currently down 6-3 in the 7th. Yankees are in Boston versus the Red Sox at 6:45, and the Mets are now trying to end a 12-game losing streak as they host Minnesota at 7:10. It's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
I think if Casey Concepcion goes to the Browns, and then if Caden McDonald goes to the Bears, I mean, if you look at the Bears roster, they need defensive line help, or if maybe Caden McDonald's already gone, I could see that ultimately being the catalyst for being saying, all right, our first rounders are done, let's get out of here, pull off a big heist and get a bunch of picks, but we don't really see anyone that's worth the 26th overall pick. So for as much as we will be kind of zeroing in 24 and 25, I think the team needs for the Browns and the Bears actually have a direct impact on what the Bills could do at 26.
Something else to think about. Round 1 of the NFL draft tomorrow night. Chris Trapaso there. Didn't ask Chris about this sleeper mock draft.
Oh, darn. That sounded so insincere.
My daughter's 2026 NFL mock draft. This is unbelievable. I love it so much. I want to just accept that somebody has a young daughter and asked her for at least 64 times. Looks like it could be at least 96 times because you can barely see a second page and all the numbers are written down.
Who's
Maybe
the next
it's in
pick?
progress.
Who's next? Who do you want next?
Who you would take or what?
Right, because there are objects, food items.
The first 4 picks are characters from something called Gabby's Dollhouse. The 5th pick, this girl picks herself, Emma. Then back to Gabby's Dollhouse for 2. What a show that must be. Holy cow.
Must be her favorite show.
At 8, she picks her cat.
That tracks.
Anything goes in this mock draft. Right. Back to Gabby's Dollhouse for another 2. A Christmas witch sneaks into the top half of the first round. Back to Gabby's Dollhouse. Then you have a Wicked, if Galinda from Wicked, Dad, Mom, Grandma, other Grandma, the dog, a unicorn from mythology. That's pick 20. Jesus comes in at 21. Jesus behind the unicorn. That was Jesus was a faller in this mock draft, I would say.
I want to know why the cat gets picked so many picks before the dog.
It was her grandma's dog. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, that's different then.
That's different.
Okay.
Grandpa at 22. Other grandpa. Third grandma. An imaginary grandpa follows. Then a sunflower. The Bills pick a sunflower. I can't look away. Another imaginary grandparent follows. Doc the Duck from Rubber Duck. 3 characters from Frozen. And then Boss Baby. That's the first round. More of the same in round 2 until we get to pick 41 where the girl picks beefaroni from Chef Boyardee, the food.
Right. What position does beefaroni play?
Defensive line.
Yeah, I knew it said there. Yeah. I wonder if the dad is putting the positions on these. Right?
I think so.
The daughter probably doesn't know to put different position designations on these objects that she's drafting.
Late second round, just to round out this incredible mock draft. 2 picks from Paw Patrol. We had a Paw Patrol phase in my house. Then Stitch from Lilo and Stitch.
Okay.
My son was caught up, not recently, when he was very young, for a couple of days. We went to Disney and bought the monorail for him that you build. Like Legos or something.
Sure,
It wasn't Lego, but you build the monorail, and then there were a few characters, including Lilo and Stitch. And he loved pretending, like Stitch was always getting caught smoking on the train. So no smoking. He would just say, no smoking, Stitch, like 100 times in a row. After Stitch goes, the Bills pick the literal human heart.
I wonder how much this proclivity for the smoking dinged Stitch's draft status.
I know. I don't know what the reference is, if there is one.
If the word was out there about Stitch's getting thrown off the monorail for smoking.
Texans go with Stitch.
Boy, if you just got in your car 30 seconds ago, you have no idea what the F is going on.
I know. Well, we love that when that happens. The Bills take the literal human heart.
Hey.
Organ is what that's the organization the heart is from. It's an organ. Then the Rams take Alexa, like from your house that you ask things of. Then spaghetti and meatballs, back to Chef Boyardee. Good draft for Chef Boyardee.
Yeah.
Then Santa, and then the dollhouse from the aforementioned Gabby's Dollhouse. Jeremy tweeted about this.
I think it's a tough look for the parents that like canned spaghetti type products are getting chosen and not like anything mom or dad makes.
Fair.
Or grandma, grandpa, or any of the imaginary grandparents. If you're going to go to the lengths to have imaginary grandparents, couldn't you go to the lengths to have them make like some incredible meal of all your favorite stuff? It's like, here's some waffles and some chicken and some ice cream, and it's all in a cone. Here.
Yeah. If you're going to have imaginary grandparents, should they make something for you?
Come on.
Come on. Oh, baby.
I'm judging this kid harshly.
The parents.
Or really the parents. It's more the parents. That's right.
Well, the dad, I mean, I can't condescend to this because I've done plenty of this. I got notebooks with me.
He's going through this exercise.
The dad has some free time.
Right.
The dad has a little extra time. Doesn't know what to do with his young toddlers. So why not combine the thing that I'm interested in, which is mock drafting, and what they're interested in, which is dollhouse kids and imaginary people, and Chef Boyardee, and the heart.
I wonder how long.
The brain is still on the board.
I wonder how long the whole thing took. Like, you say, this little girl, like, Daddy, I have homework. No, you sit down. We're only on pick 45. Get it?
When you're done.
Give me some more. We need more.
This girl, she picks Stitch. I mean, are we almost? Yes, we're almost done. What do you want to do here? It's Denver's on the clock. Stitch, Daddy. All right, that's fine. Anything is allowed. All right, next, Lilo. No, the human heart.
What positional designation is there for the human heart?
I don't know. I'm starting to feel self-conscious, so I closed it.
Oh, sorry. Oh, maybe that was for the
unbelievable.
Best. Yeah,
it's so funny. It's perfectly neat. The whole thing.
Yeah, the handwriting is it's the right kind of good. It's not so good that it looks fake, but it's it's an admirable job, right? I could not write that many words over and over and over again and have it be that neat.
Get ChatGPT out and tell it you want a 2-round mock draft of anything. Everything you can conceive of, as far as to include imaginary relatives, allowed. I mean, is it interesting? Is it what would that look like? I think I've just broken the machine.
Right. That probably is what happens.
You probably get football players, then maybe like, historical figures or baseball players. I have no idea. All right. Well, thanks for the indulging us on that one. Lion, tomorrow. You would do it. We don't have anything official.
No, we don't. But yeah, I would. I think. But funny that the timing. We got the game on. You mentioned, and we're just getting up to. We're about 3 minutes away from the 50-footer, or excuse me, the 100-footer. going in on Luukkonen in the second period. Yeah, I would. I really, we just saw it again. The first goal, I like it less every time I look at it. Like, I know it's a guy in alone, all right, but a guy in alone, like all guys in alone are not created equal. And he's got Samuelsson close enough. Really, the key to me is not so much where the defender is. It's where the puck is, where the stick is, where his hands are. Arvidsson, I mean, he's got the head start on Samuelsson there, but the puck is on edge. He's got one hand on his stick, and he's on his backhand. And the idea that Luukkonen, what I'm assuming because of how he reacted on the play, was he wasn't expecting a shot. He thought something else was going to happen. Maybe the guy's going to try to cut across him, left or right across, and try to, score on his forehand coming around the other way or what. Or no, that would still, on his forehand. But with where his hands are, where Samuelsson is, and the puck on edge, I feel like the goalie supercomputer should have spit out, this guy is most likely going to just shovel this puck at the net, which is exactly what he did, and Luukkonen was seemingly surprised by it. He went down late, which is how it snuck under him, and I just think he should have been expecting that result there. Easy for me to say. I mean, it's all happening fast for him, for sure, but I just think it was a bad job. I mean, the second one is a 1 in a million. It happens. Every goalie that's ever played, 100 games or 1,000 games is going to tell you some story about the time he got beat by a 100-footer or even worse. But to have it happen there, really bad luck. I think the first goal was worse. I'd make a change. I don't think it's like I'm not done with Luukkonen. I don't need it to seem like I'm punishing him, but I want to get in front of it because I'm going to Game 3 tomorrow, and if I don't go to Lyon and Luukkonen is still wonky, I'm going to go to him, Lyon, in Game 4, down 2-1, and like the pressure cooker is just really, really working hard now. I think if I go to Lyon tomorrow and I miss, he misses, or I just don't get the win, I can go back to Luukkonen, and it's still not an ideal situation, but I'd rather be proactive. I feel like if they go with Luukkonen tomorrow and then have to pivot the line, it's like the gun is at their head to not fall down 3-1. And I know that'll still be the case if they, you want to give yourself the best chance to win this game tomorrow. I'm not trying to determine who's going to be my goalie in round 3 if I get there. What I'm trying to do is win this game tomorrow, and I would put that on Lyon.
What's with all the breakaways, by the way? What's happening?
Good question. I mean, there was one in the first period at the guy came out of the penalty box. Like that's just that's kind of bad luck too. Not that you shouldn't be aware of that, but like that's easily explained. The other stuff, I don't know, man. Like Pasternak twice on Sunday, and this Arvidsson again earlier in the game, and then he scores the goal on one. I don't know. Boston must see something in what they do and how they do it, and I think they're probably taking their shot on leaving a guy out high, hoping that they're going to catch him, and they have. So I'll bet they saw something studying the Sabres that left them. Hey, you know what? They ignore this area or whatever. They're vulnerable here. Let's try and exploit.
Sounds like a special teams coach in football or something.
Yeah,
they don't block this
right
well on this side of the line on a field goal attempt or something like that. Well, let's get that buttoned up. Paul Hamilton is in Boston. He'll join us at 6. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
Folks, Bulldog here for
Welcome back. Paul Hamilton from Boston just after 6. Here's Nick with us. Hi, Nick.
Hey, guys. How you guys doing today?
Good, thank you.
Hey, a quick question. I called Monday on the Extra Point Show and asked hypothetically if the Sabres lost 2-3 and UPL had a rough game, do you look to go to Lion Game 4? With that said, my question is, do you maybe pull the trigger early and go to Lion Game 3? And my second part question is Game 3 kind of a must-win since, we're a young team and I think if we're down 3-1 going back to Buffalo, series potentially over. So get the monkey off the back and get the win and go home split.
Well, it doesn't matter to me which game they get first, but yes, the pressure would be more on Sunday afternoon if they drop the game tomorrow. So you'd rather get that in your pocket. But Boston just did the same. They dropped game 1 and wanted to get a split, and they got their split. So, the two games should be the same. And it's not an elimination game, so I want to give them some credit that they wouldn't be overwhelmed. But I did use the phrasing like you'd really feel it, I think, if you drop Game 3 going into Game 4, which is part of the reason why I want to go to Lion tomorrow. I don't want to be forced to go to Lion, which is what Game 4 would be, I think, if they lose almost any way tomorrow with Luukkonen in goal. It doesn't have to be that, but that's how I kind of feel. So I would rather choose to do it and then, do what I'm going to do from there. And it's not at all to me like Lyon's the number one goalie now or anything, but I kind of felt like despite all this, I don't know if it was an obsession, but we talked a lot about what are they going to do? Trade starts like they have all year? Are they going to settle on a guy? And it came to pass, and I thought it would, that they would settle on a guy. But it's not like Luukkonen is, he's not Hellebuck. So he got the job 3 weeks ago, and it was wonky last night in a couple of spots. Go to the other guy. If he's healthy and healthy enough to be backing up and playing last night, put him in. And go from there, I'll figure out the rest. But I want to give myself the best chance tomorrow. And I feel like the way Luukkonen looked last night, I think that is Lion, in my opinion.
I think you've convinced me. No time here to elaborate, but eventually I will. Paul Hamilton coming up from Boston. After the update, Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. Game 3 tomorrow night. This is WGR.
The series heads to Boston, tied 1-1 following the Sabres' loss last night. Games 3 and 4 will both be in Boston. No practice today, though, for Buffalo. However, head coach Lindy Ruff did speak with the media. There is not any official line changes, but Ruff did say Noah Ostlund is a possibility for tomorrow. And for more, as the series does head to Boston, Paul Hamilton and Owen Parker have pieces up at our website, WGR550.com. Speaking of Paul, he's coming up next, so do stay tuned for that. And for Owen, do join him and Brian Koziel live this Sunday from 11 to 2 p.m. at Hamburg Tap Room for pregame coverage of Game 4 and more. It is presented by Neutral Vodka Seltzer. Keep it tasty this playoff season. Speaking of the playoffs, we've got 3 games tonight. At 7, the Flyers host Pittsburgh. Philly is looking to take a 3-0 series lead. 9:30, Dallas is in Minnesota versus the Wild. That series is tied 1-1. And Game 2 at 10 between the Oilers and the Ducks in Edmonton. The Oilers did take Game 1. Cowboys Executive Vice President Stephen Jones confirmed today with the media that wide receiver George Pickens will play on the franchise tag this year and that there won't be any talks for a long-term deal. Pickens, though, does still need to sign his franchise tag. And then in baseball, the Bisons are home against Columbus. First pitch is at 6:05. That can be heard over on our sister station, the Bet 1520, coming up here in the next few minutes. And then currently going on in the majors, the Jays are at the Angels, and Toronto is down 7-3 in the 9th. Yankees are in Boston versus the Red Sox at 6:45, and the Mets are trying to now end a 12-game losing streak as they host Minnesota at 7:10. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
$180 degrees from yesterday at this time, or late Sunday night, with the Sabres falling flat to Boston in Game 2, 4-2. It's one of those, knowing from experience, just knowing how many swings there tend to be in the playoffs. It's one of those where that game happens and you go, well, actually, they were down for most of Game 1. You know, like,
right.
Maybe we overdid it. It was such a great comeback. With us now from Boston is Paul Hamilton. I don't know. I mean, you'd have your own takes on this like we would, Paul, but did we get a little carried away after Game 1?
Well, Marco Sturm didn't get carried away. After the 2 goals, he put a stop to it. He called timeout and got them over there, and wasn't going to let them completely disintegrate like they did in Game 1, so he got them back going again. They didn't score in the empty net, but at least they kept the Sabres out. The Sabres almost scored a 3rd goal, but Swayman had a weird game because before the Sabres took 2 consecutive penalties, he made a bunch of great saves to prevent the Sabres from taking the early lead.
Yep.
And then he watched the rest of the game until the 3rd period, and then he made a bunch of great saves again. And the Sabres got a couple of goals in between, too. In the middle, he basically could have bought a seat. They didn't really put too much pressure on him.
Right.
So it wasn't like the first game where he really played well until he didn't, which was the last 8 minutes. But, it was kind of a weird game for him.
Yeah, and the game going the way it went sort of leaves us, Mike was alluding to it there, like Game 1 was not their game until the end, but it was kind of their game. Like they dominated the game mostly, Game 1. They just were behind on the scoreboard. Last night they were behind, and they deserved it. Right, I think like in Game 1, now what we do though is we couple them together, and it sort of feels like, I think I even heard you say this with Brad on my way driving in today, Paul. Like they've only been in the lead for 3.5 minutes or whatever it is, from the time they scored that 3rd goal Sunday night. That's the only time they've spent in front in the series, and that can make you feel like they're kind of getting their asses kicked here. But they're not. I mean, they did last night. I didn't like them last night at all, really. From the first 8 minutes of the first period to when they got a couple of goals late, they didn't do much of anything in the game, I thought. Game 1, they kind of had the puck all night. Like, I thought it was a matter of time on Game 1. Last night, I didn't feel it at all from them.
Yeah, it's 3:24. They've been ahead in the whole series in 2 games. And you know what? I think the team that has taken it to the other physically has won both games. Buffalo did that, and I thought they wore Boston down. It took a while, but they finally wore them down. The Boston defense looked exhausted when the Sabres got that third forechecker in there and really started pressing them. And then Boston wasn't guarding the middle of the ice anymore. And Tage, well, I'll use Marco Sturm's term. Number 72 got loose in there and, scored 2 goals on them. And, they just weren't defending the way they were. I thought Boston had the better physical game in Game 2. And Bo Byram basically admitted it in the postgame that, they kind of wore them out with the way they were forechecking and the physical play that they exhibited, and the Sabres really couldn't find a way to solve the pressure. And that right there is what they've got to figure out for Game 3, is what are they going to do to solve that pressure, because that's Boston's game. And that's the only way they're going to win. They can't win any type of a run-and-gun situation or anything like that. It's get in, get on the forecheck, and just play good D. Don't allow the Sabres to get into transition and play the game the way they played it and on that forecheck. That's the only way they're going to win. So, and the Sabres really, if you think about it, have solved pressure pretty well this year. So I'm anticipating going into Game 3, Lindy Ruff will have a different type of a game plan to help solve that pressure. And part of it might be dress Ostlund. That's what he's good at.
Yeah.
He's good at all zones, doesn't make mistakes. Now, he's not like the savior or anything, but he certainly is a player that is smart enough that he knows where to go with the puck to get rolling.
Yeah, I'm fully in support of that idea. And I'm guessing Dunn, although, they could do something else. I guess they could take Krebs off of the Thompson line and put Benson there and make a spot for Ostlund that way. But I feel like Dunn is the guy that comes out. And now I'm wondering, Paul, with how, there was a lot of yapping last night, and I don't know who's challenging who to fights or whatever. Like, it seemed like Dunn wanted to go, and I don't think that Jeannot had any interest in it, up 4-0. I think he'd been an idiot. His coach should have benched him forever if he engages in anything that could have gotten that crowd going. So I never really bought that there was about to be a brawl there, but there was plenty of rough stuff. And the series is, it's a series. It's antagonistic. They might feel like they need Dunn, but I am in favor of putting Ostlund in his place 100%.
I was just about to ask you guys that, and you just kind of answered the question, which means I think we maybe disagree a little. I'm kind of wondering why Dunn is turning everything down, and I'm wondering if he's still hurt.
Well,
to me, it seems like he doesn't really want to get involved with that stuff. And I thought, well, if you don't really want to get involved in that stuff,
well, then what are we doing? Right.
Yeah. That's
well,
kind of the way I looked at it.
The thing that was happening last night, Paul, and you were at the game, but I'm sure you were watching the confrontation in the third period right in front of the benches there. There was some audio that leaked through Rob and Ray Ferraro, so I guess depending on which broadcast you were watching, you could hear bits and pieces of it. And
right, and I can't hear that.
The way the MSG broadcast interpreted that was that it was Jeannot challenging them to fight or Dunn to fight. And I thought what I heard was, this is Jeannot now. You want to fight? Who are you? Like, I felt like Jeannot was like saying, I'm not fighting you now. I don't even know who you are, man. Like that old sort of psych job where Josh Allen has to look at the back of the guy's uniform to know who he is. Like sort of, you're a nobody. I thought at 4-0, or the score might have changed by then. I don't even know. There's just no way that a Boston guy is taking a fight there. So I don't know that Dunn turned it down. I thought the guy was making fun of Dunn myself, not challenging to a fight, saying, you're not worth my time, is what I thought he was doing. But so I don't know if Dunn turned it down or not. But either way.
Well, there is one Boston guy that would have taken that fight. Zadorov would have, but he wasn't involved.
Right. So I don't know what happened there. But anyway, the point holds, right? They're going on the road. Yes. If Lindy's worried about physicality, he might be tempted to leave Dunn in, but I still would put my best guy in, and Ostlund's a far better hockey player.
Yeah, he is. And you've got Stanley and Timmins can get involved in that. Samuelson is using his size and strength to get involved in some things. It's a shame, and I don't blame Tage Thompson at all. I understand totally what he did. It was 4-0. He was mad. Geeky and Pasternak are in his face, and he just popped. And I get it. And he wound up with 12 minutes in penalties. I probably would have done the same thing if I'm being totally honest with you. Next thing you know, it's 4-2, and you're thinking, boy, I wish Thompson wasn't in the box if you're a Sabre fan for 12 minutes. You know, we could use him here. And he didn't come out until less than 2 minutes were left. And then he basically played the rest of the game until it was out of hand, you know, to the place where they weren't going to be able to tie it anymore. But honestly, I would not. I understand the frustration he was exhibiting there. Things weren't going well. He's got these 2 Bruins in his face, and it's just like, all right, fine, shut up, let's go. You know, and he wound up with 12 minutes in penalties. But at the end of the day, because he went to the locker room, I think he probably thought he got 15 minutes in penalties.
Yeah.
And he came back out and sat in the box for maybe the last minute of the 12 minutes. And I suppose he could have been hurt and taking care of that. But I'm thinking more to the point that he might have thought he was out of the game.
Yeah, well, eventually he came back and sat in the box and then came out with like a minute 40 or whatever it was to go. So, okay, what about the goal? I'm just dominating this thing here, Mike. I'm sorry. No. What do you want to do with goalie, Paul? I'm ready to go to Lyon, and I'm usually not itchy on the trigger finger with these, but Luukkonen really freaked me out. Not just the 100-footer. I hated the first goal. I just think there's no way he should have expected anything but a shovel at the net on the backhand from that guy with where his hands were, where he was on the ice, where Samuelson was, and the puck was rolling. I cannot believe he did not stop that shot. And, you know, Lyon, assuming he's healthy, has been excellent all year. So I would make the switch. I'm not done with Luukkonen. I'm not changing my mind to Lyon being my number one. I'm just going to use my other guy. And I feel like it's not that hard to do because it's not like Luukkonen has been Hellebuck all year or something and played 60 games. They split the year. And so I'm ready to pivot. I don't know if it seems panicky. What would you do?
I totally respect what you're saying, and I see what you're saying, totally. And I said yesterday, I would need to sleep on this. And I look at it this way. Luukkonen had a very good first period. He had a very good 4 periods, really. But, you know, he stopped 2 breakaways in the first period, made some other good saves, and then it happened. That goal that you talked about, yes, that wasn't a good goal. And, of course, the one from the red line, stuff like that happens every now and then. I remember Dominik Hasek letting one in against Junot or Bondra in the playoffs. One of the 2 of them shot from the red line and beat him. And you hate that it happens. And I understand what he was trying to do. He said he was trying to come forward and get it before it bounced, and he didn't get there. And then it bounced, and he didn't have his body behind it. And, all right, fine. And then, of course, the goal that pulled him wasn't a good goal either on the 2-on-1. He's got to stop that. He's got the shooter. But as well as he's played, and this really has nothing to do with Lyon, as well as he's played since December 9th, where he had either the best or second best save percentage in the league, I can't get to pulling him and not starting him after just one bad period. Mm-hmm. I can't get there with that, just as well as he's played. And I still have, even though Lyon was fine, Lyon got right into it too. He was yapping the minute he got in there. You know, he stopped his 7 shots, but he had 3 rough starts. The last one was not his fault. The team was awful in front of him. The first 2 were. It's not that, but he's also on the other side of that coin, old enough and experienced enough to know how to compartmentalize that and put it away, and be ready to go. But I finally this morning, after sleeping on it, thought to myself, I just can't get to not starting him after one bad period.
I wonder if it would be viewed as panicky by the team, by the players, because that's mostly what I would be concerned with. But that's where it not being like a long-standing, season-long situation where he's not Jake Ottinger. You know what I mean? They chose him to run with it here. I don't think it was circumstantial because of Lyon's injury. I think it just timed out that way. So I think Luukkonen earned it, but to me, he's earned a spot to watch tomorrow. I want to try the other guy and get ahead of it because I feel like if I put Luukkonen in, Paul, and he's wonky tomorrow, now I kind of got a gun to my head. I got to put Lyon in for Game 4, and that's a tough spot to put Lyon in because the whole team is going to be like, oh, we can't go down 3-1, and I guess I'd say I'm being proactive if I choose Lyon now as opposed to maybe being forced to choose him for Game 4. if that makes sense.
Yeah, when I look back to Luukkonen this year has had a pretty good tendency of shaking off a bad game and coming back with a good one. Maybe more than his teammates, I worry about him. You know, what's he thinking? It's like, really? After one bad period, that's it? That's all I get?
Mhm.
That's it? I mean, you gave Lyon 3 games before before he was done.
But it's the playoffs now, but yeah.
Yeah, it's the playoffs, but I think you could maybe lose him. I don't know. He seems to mentally be up pretty good these days, so maybe you wouldn't. I guess I would be more concerned about that more than the team.
Okay.
I think Boston feels really good. I mean, the first game was not their night, as we've talked about already and had talked about yesterday. So they don't really have claim to that game per se, but they got their road win and they dictated terms last night. They probably feel pretty good now.
No, I think they would, yes. Buffalo, as Lindy said, is a very good road team, but the Boston Bruins are also the second best home team in the NHL, and quite honestly, this is the playoffs, as Bulldog just said, and probably most of that means nothing. I mean, look at how many road teams have won in the playoffs so far. So, and Boston is not a good road team, and they won. You know, Buffalo's a pretty good home team, and Boston won. So I kind of ignore a lot of that right now because we're into a whole different season. I'm pretty comfortable from what I know of the Sabres that they can go into Boston and take one of these 2 games. I mean, if they come home 2-2, I think they're fine. You know, for Game 5, obviously they're not fine if they come home 3-1 down. So, but, you know, Lindy Ruff is pretty good at making adjustments, and certainly they're going to have to make adjustments to get around Boston's forecheck and to get back to some of the things they do well. It would really help if they could get some early goals.
Yeah.
Instead of waiting until the middle of the third period when the whole game is played out and you're on pins and needles hoping your goaltender can hold you in there. I think that would be – because look at how many times they scored first this year, and that just propelled them.
Right.
You know,
Let's get a lead and make this team try to chase you a little bit. That would
Right.
be that's something we really have not seen, except
Right.
for the closing stages of Game 1. Something else I'm curious to see an adjustment on, Paul, and I'd like your thoughts on, is the number of easy breaks, odd man rushes, breakaways. Like as we just started talking, we've got the game on the replay on MSG, and the goal to open the third period is just a clearing pass off the glass to a 2-on-1. Like I feel like with how many of those opportunities have come on just sort of chips and clears, it feels like Boston has found something in how the Sabres cover or how they're attacking, that they know there's these opportunities and they're using them. And I wonder what the Sabres can do to counteract. It might be a real problem for their active D because that's what maybe is getting exploited here by Boston.
It's also what Boston does, and the Sabres should know that. They do know that. Lindy Ruff's talked about it. And they were talking about it instead of practicing the other day, going through tape and everything. And it's still happening. I hated that first goal. Well, first, what you said about it, I hated. But I hated the fact that they just flipped the puck in the air.
Right, and it's a breakaway.
And Norris and Samuelson are basically out for a Sunday skate. It's like, what are you two doing? And Arvidsson looks like he got shot out of a cannon. And it's like he blows by both of them. And it's like, well, this is what the Bruins do, you know, guys? Maybe expect this might happen.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe expect one breakaway yesterday in the first period was on the Sabre power play, and they gave the puck away, and they're gone. Well, that's shocking. That's not shocking. And the other one was Arvidsson coming out of the penalty box. And again, you got to be aware that guy's coming out of the penalty box. And, Luukkonen made 2 great saves out of that. Pasternak does it almost every game, and he did it twice to them in Game 1.
Right.
So those are things that the Bruins do that the Sabres should be well aware of. And you're right, they've got to cut that out.
Paul, thanks for your time. We'll talk tomorrow.
Take care, guys.
That is Paul Hamilton live from Boston. His appearances are brought to you by Raylax Honda. Raylax, we got this.
Did the word tomorrow sound funny for me? I bit my tongue as I was speaking there. It didn't feel great. I was kind of rusty. You did a lot of the talking there. I was resting.
It was I don't know. I got going, and then I just realized, like,
Fine.
I got a little self-conscious there.
It's fine. Yeah, I mean, of course, I have no problem with that. I could use a couple minutes off every once in a while.
Good. Well, you do have to do all the heavy lifting of, like, taking us in and out of breaks.
Oh,
so
heavy,
it is,
that lifting.
You know, it's more than I do.
Sabres at DraftKings tomorrow, an even -110. Right down the middle. Pick 'em, Sabres and Bruins at the moment for Game 3. Tomorrow we have round 1 of the NFL draft, and we did our best to appropriately spend time on that today, getting it in as best we can between Sabres stuff. Chris Trapaso today, and also Sigman Bloom from Football Guys. We'll have our conversation with Sigman for you after the next break. Round 1 tomorrow night, as always, rounds 2 and 3 on Friday, the rest Saturday. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.